Okay, I mean, to give some history, Boot hasn't paying us has stopped paying us last year, June, something like that. So we were representing Boot, but we weren't being paid from June to maybe let's see, October. Then we decided, okay, forget it. We're gonna find a way to break this contract because our contract actually was a 2-year contract. We were 8 months into it before we stopped getting paid, and the guy just disappeared. So
Right, so we're back again for another Geographically Challenged. This is episode number 16, and thank God we've got the motley crew back together. Don't have to deal with Mac anymore. I've been seeing him literally every day. Today's my Mac day off, and so luckily we didn't have to get him in for another podcast. Thank you for coming back, Bleh. It's great to have you back. I'm sure you are feeling good, obviously, after having done all of that oceanic stuff. How's the jet lag? You know, Pilsky and I are kind of on jet lag mode. Are you struggling as well?
I'm on I think Sydney time, which is like I've had to wake up at like 6 a.m. in the morning, which I guess is a normal time for like non-gamer plebs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not bad. At the same time, I'm not really used to this. I'm like it's like 11 a.m. and I'm wide awake. It's not usual for me, but it is what it is. Gamer time.
What time is it for you right now, Pilsky?
3:37. Wait. Oh, in terms of my time zone?
In sleep time zone, yeah.
Oh, well, I woke up at 2:40 a.m. this morning to do some EU Cologne. EU Pro League. Fuck, we just came off Cologne. So right now it's like 11 p.m.
It's all the same.
It's 3 p.m. It feels like the same show.
Like melding together, yeah.
Just like Asian Counter-Strike. One thing that's not the same, though, and those of you with the keener eyes, those of you that have maybe been paying attention to what you're watching, will notice that we do have a guest today, which is fantastic because we're not going to hear the same fucking opinion again and again and again. Or maybe we will. Maybe Alex agrees with us. But how are you doing, Alex? Obviously, the now coach of f0rsakeN, for those who don't know, is a Singaporean Counter-Strike player and has played on teams like BOOT. So it's good to have you, and we're quite keen to hear your opinion on everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really happy to be here.
Okay.
I watch this podcast and it's entertaining to me, so.
Well, we'll see how enjoyable it's going to be for you to be on the podcast when you have to start giving your opinions as well. Either way, let's dive into the news for this week. I mean, we got to start off with something that's a little bit topical, obviously, because we've got Alecks on, and part of the reason that we have got you on is because of these roster changes that f0rsakeN have been making. So we've been obviously following f0rsakeN for a little bit. And I think it's fair to say we've probably been a little bit disappointed with the results that f0rsakeN have been getting. I'm sure you've gleaned that much from the podcast anyway. But for those that haven't heard about the news, what's happening for f0rsakeN is that Alecks has moved to a manager/coach position. And the team has added Tommy and f0rsakeN, although I believe Tommy might have played for you guys at one point, or maybe I'm confusing that with BOOT. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. And Styron has also been added as like a core player. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with Singapore rosters. You guys always seem to have like 6 or 7 players on your team. Anyway, f0rsakeN coming in line with that. But that's the news out from this week. So for someone like Alex, who has a bit of coaching experience from back in the day with BOOT, this is going to be nothing new. I tell you what, how about we do it this way? Let's get Pilsky and Bleh's opinion first on these roster changes, and then we'll get Alex's take, because he's obviously a bit more of an internal bias party. So what about we go with you first, Pilsky? What do you think initially about adding f0rsakeN and adding Tommy to f0rsakeN? Is this gonna fix f0rsakeN?
All right. So I look at the lineup now, and I think you've got already with Devi and Benkai, I was kind of just like, yeah, it's a pretty good team. Like, if those guys can play pretty well, you've got like some pretty decent firepower in there. With the way I usually think about it is that, BOOT's the kind of team, or now f0rsakeN. I always say BOOT because it just like I look at the flags and I look at some of the players in the BOOT uniform on HLTV and I go, oh, it's BOOT, sweet. Yeah, but I think the whole like way I think about it is like, is this team good enough to beat like the SEA teams and to qualify into some of those main tournaments? And I know that like some of these online tournaments nowadays are like a little bit more diverse in terms of the teams that they have in them. Like you have some online Chinese tournaments and things like that. So things are sort of melding together a bit more. I think I like the roster on paper. I think it's going to come down a lot to like how well sort of Benkai can hit a really good level. I think Devi's already a good player. I remember like we will put him on our Asia Dream team or whatever. And then you've got Mind Freak, who's been like okay. Like I haven't watched any of the games, but his statistics seem like decent. So he seems like a pretty decent player. So I'd probably like to hear a bit more about him. And I think Tommy sort of fits into that same sort of category of just a decent sort of role player on the old boot, who would sometimes drop 30 bombs out of nowhere on certain maps. Like I remember he used to be pretty decent on train. So it all comes down to like if this team is going to be good or not. I think you got two very good, like individually skilled players. You got two pretty decent role players in my mind, and it all comes down to like how good is this f0rsakeN guy going to be? Because I know there's like quite a bit of hype around him, but if he like steps up pretty big, then you've got pretty nice firepower on the team. And I'm also kind of curious like where the leadership's going to come from. Obviously, like you can help them a lot with that, Alex, but if you move past online and into a LAN environment, that's where you need like a little bit more of a leader. So I guess one of the more experienced guys would have to step up to that, I suppose.
All right, Bleh. I know you're number one f0rsakeN fanboy. So are you happy to see him on Paper X?
Which f0rsakeN?
That is a very important
the Indian
question.
one, obviously.
I mean, you did pick up an Indian player for like all of a week just before. So, it does beg the question.
I'm actually a fan of both of them. I'm a fan of both of them. Other guy did put Indian Counter-Strike. Other one put Indian Counter-Strike on the map, and other one's an actually good Counter-Strike player without using the Microsoft Office suite. So, both of them good in their own right. Jokes aside, though, this lineup, it intrigues me in a good way, right? And I just want to touch upon what Pilsky just mentioned there. Like when it comes to Southeast Asia, pure firepower-wise, I think this could go toe-to-toe with almost any one of these guys, apart from Bren and obviously the couple of Thai teams still who haven't moved on over from to Valorant. I feel that's going to be the first test. I want to take it step by step. Devi, absolute star. Benkai has fallen off. He's no longer what he was once upon a time with the boot lineup, right? At the same time, he's playing a different role. Now he's more of a veteran in his team compared to some of the younger, if you look at the younger players coming in. Mindfreak and Styron, look, I've seen them pug a lot. There's some of those up-and-coming raw aimers, but haven't really seen them achieve much when it comes to actual professional Counter-Strike. So I can't really hedge my bets on them. I do feel there is potential, 100%. It's how they're kind of molded into this lineup, right? And I think that's when someone like Benkai in the server, obviously Alex is going to be the coach, he's going to be sitting behind them, but that's what I feel like Alex and Benkai need to kind of work with here with these two players. Tommy, he was just that raw entry back in the boot days, right? And he knows his role very well. And considering he's played a few minors and whatnot, he's played against some of the better teams on LAN. He is one of the other experienced players in his lineup alongside Benkai. I'm not even going to put Devi in that experience side because he joined Paper X at a time where there were not too many events happening. He hasn't really played too many LANs. So it's going to be primarily, I feel, Tommy and Benkai is going to try and kind of rein in this young guns. For f0rsakeN, here's the thing. When I saw this kid, when he was like, 13, 14, he was playing these So Strong Next pugs, like, the Face at FPL of Asia back then. And even now when he's playing the APL, I'm not too sure what he's doing exactly right now. I know he joined a team earlier that mixed weird Chinese roster, which failed quite miserably, and I'm happy it died so we can free this kid up. And I feel, look, it runs in the family, right? He's got the skills, but let's be real. He's no Bentet yet. He's not Xccurate yet. He has a lot of growing to do in-game. And I feel like this is a sort of team where he's going to feel a little bit more comfortable. There won't be too much of a language barrier and all of that. And I feel like this is where he could grow. I don't see him suddenly just coming out and dropping 30 bombs, but this is where you hone the next generation of talent in the region, considering so many have moved on to Valorant. So yeah, it is a promising team. I'm looking forward to see what they have in store for us here. At the same time, I'm not going to really have super high expectations.
Okay. Well, Alex, you've been obviously a little bit quiet, but I've been sort of reading your facial expressions a little bit. You've picked up on a few things said there. So I do sometimes wonder what our guests think when we're sort of talking about them or things that affect them. So is there anything immediately out of those two discussions that you want to just jump on and say anything? Or should I just go ahead and fire a few questions at you here?
Well, I think you can go ahead. It's not really how do I put this? Like, well, for example, I think Benkai has always been calling. So with regards to like who's gonna be the leader and stuff, it's gonna be Ben. When Benkai joined the team, that was the last tournament where I was calling already. After that, I didn't call anymore because there was a transition period and he needed to take over. So pretty much since, let's see, I think he joined in July. So since July, he's already been calling, and he's pretty good at it. To be fair, like he has his own way of how he wants to play the game. Is very clear. It's very structured, and it's very I mean, it's very easy for the players to play the way he wants because he's he's quite articulate. So he manages to tell you exactly what they need to do when they come out. So you probably see a more structured lineup, structured playstyle coming out of this new BTRG roster.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's first talk then about what the struggles have been for PaperX up to this point. Because again, as we mentioned, we sort of, when we saw this team actually be comprised, we sort of had reasonably high expectations. We were thinking it was going to be something similar to BOOT in that it would be the best team in SCA or one of the best teams in SCA, at least competing up in the top 4, for example. But it, to be fair, hasn't reached those numbers at this point. So what do you think the reasoning is behind that from your perspective?
Let's see. Well, from the start, like in like December, I think Bleh would know. I was shopping for roster for organizations already because, okay, I mean, to give some history, BOOT has stopped paying us last year June, something like that. So we were representing BOOT, but we weren't being paid from June to maybe let's see, October. Then we decided, okay, forget it. We're gonna find a way to break this contract because our contract actually was a 2-year contract. We were 8 months into it before we stopped getting paid, and the guy just disappeared. So we didn't have anything to do. We spoke to DSN. DSN said, okay, look, as far as I'm concerned, you guys are free to go. So from then on, I was looking for someone to represent us. So that's pretty much spent most of my time. And you can tell the results just went like this because like nobody wanted to play anymore. Like there was nothing to play. There was more than anything. We were still qualifying for tournaments. We were qualifying for Zowie Esports, but like the effort that we put in was like it's a lot less. Like we just went through the motions while I was trying to find people to do. Nevin was going to army, so we had to get a new lineup and stuff. So end of Zowie, after our disastrous match against Bren, in my opinion,
remember
we talk about that for a sec? The Papi Chulo, because I was casting that game.
The guy gave us like 3 bomb or some shit on train.
Yeah, that was a pretty ridiculous game.
Yeah, he went fucking crazy. So after that, we were like, okay, we had a talk and we decided that okay, we want to try going full time because Benkai is in army still, and he still is in army right now. He's coming out in October, so that's probably when you see him start to get better.
Just another month left. That's good.
Yeah. So Benkai is coming out. Nevin was supposed to go in army in January. All right, so we knew this, or at least if he didn't extend his school, maybe he was looking at March intake. So we told that we spoke. I spoke to Bobosaur, to Kalish. Our coach at that time was Equitas. So he said, look, you gotta try and give full time a shot, because we've been playing part time for the longest time. Like we although a bunch of us would come on at like 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. and then we'll start talking or playing scrims with mixed teams and stuff. We basically wait till like 7 or 8 before we can actually properly practice. So this was the life of the Singapore team since like 2016, pretty much. So we decided, okay, let's give full time a shot. Then we needed to find players, but everybody else is contracted. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like when we picked up Mindfreak and Sube, we were quite happy, because like they fit roles perfectly and they're super hard workers, which is what I was looking for. Because like full time lineup, right? And I thought maybe hard work would take over anything, but like there were other problems, I guess. So January, spoke to Nikhil, and he managed to get together an organization with he's always wanted to start one. For example, always wanted to own esports team, but he's never found the right opportunity. And then because we were available, he decided to take us up. So great, we had an organization we could start. February, we signed a contract. We were going to trade. So I think we signed a contract in February. In like 1 week's time, immediately it was the first RMR tournament.
Would it was just the qualifier, the Asian minor qualifier at February, or
that one. Oh yeah, so that's the minor.
The minor qualifier.
Yeah. So we qualified for that, like just before we signed the contract, or like just after we signed the contract.
Right.
And then it was all looking good. We were playing really well. Like we were really smashing people. It was like we were feeling like great, Like we go into practice, we're giving every team 20, 10, 25-5, any team. It was quite amazing. Like we were thinking, oh, this is it, man. Full time is great. And then we hit the first minor tournament, and suddenly everybody just choked. It was like, oh, back to BOOT.
So was it? I just wanted to like ask a question there. Did everyone choke, or was it the fact that the other teams were suddenly playing better in an official? Like, which was the case, or was it a mixture of both?
Let me try and recall. I think we played. Okay, so genius mistake number one. We decided we were good and we could play overpass after not playing overpass for 4 years. Alright. We decided, okay, Mirage everybody plays. We need to get good at overpass so that we have something else. On paper it looked like a smart thing to do, right? But overpass is not easy to play.
Oh, it's not. It's not.
I've since found out that I don't like playing overpass. I don't like calling overpass. I have no idea what to do on the map. So sounds like an excuse, but every team picked overpass against us in the minor, obviously, because they haven't seen us play overpass. We ban Mirage, pick overpass. And then we go into overpass and it's really bloody hard. Like it's totally different. Not enough practice. Teams are just better on it, especially the Thai teams. So we got wrecked on overpass. And we probably had like a little bit of choke going on in the sense. Okay, look, Lucid Dream was a pretty good team at the time with the 2 Koreans. Right, to be fair, they really were pretty good. So we bumped to Lucid Dream, like probably the hardest team for us. And got wrecked by them. Not really wrecked, I guess. It was 16-12, 16-10, 16. I think 16-12, 16-12, and
Was this
yeah, so just
Asia
the
minor
minor,
qualifier?
yeah.
Yeah, 16-13, nuke 16-8 overpass.
Yeah, overpass. So it wasn't good. And the next game, I think we had another overpass game against, I don't know, I think maybe Beyond. Yeah, I think
Maple?
Beyond. Yeah,
Maple, was it?
Maple, yes. So we got
Yeah,
hammered on
so
overpass again.
that was 3 mapper, where you guys won nuke 16-13, lost overpass, and train 16-10, 16-12.
Yeah, we shouldn't have lost train. I remember that game. Yeah, so that was bad. And after that, it was a downward spiral from there because everybody was supposed to move to Singapore. So that tournament, they managed to fly everybody down. So I met Mindfreak, I met Sube in Singapore with Davai, who has already been to Singapore a few times to play LANs and stuff. So it was super fun. Like we had a boot camp set up. We were inside the office. We were practicing. It was great. But like after that, like okay, fine, we lose the minor. We can bounce back, right? Then COVID happens. We're stuck at home. Davai was stuck with the internet. I mean, it all sounds like excuses now, but he was stuck in Kelantan with an internet that's like some kind of dial-up connection. It's literally Deathmaker's internet when he's connecting to Hong Kong. So that's another story in itself. It's crazy. Yeah, so that was tough. So anytime we play a Hong Kong server, we were handicapped because our best player was playing with like 110 ping, and everybody else was 60.
I actually, this is a little bit of a very quick segue, but I just want to pick your brain very quickly. This should take like a few seconds. When you had Deathmaker sub in for you guys, right? What didn't click there? And I asked this question because I obviously haven't been paying attention to the Indian Counter-Strike scene for quite a while, but I know that Deathmaker as such, he's been the one kind of standout player in the country in South Asia. And like, what were your thoughts on him, and like, why didn't it click? Apart from like maybe the internet issues, perhaps, or like, was it the comms?
No, it wasn't really. I mean, okay, first of all, if I'm not wrong, in India right now, you guys are on lockdown, so you can't actually go from like Kolkata he lives in Kolkata to Bangalore, which is better internet. So
at that time he couldn't. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, can he do it now? You still can't, right?
I think you can. Domestic flights are open, but yeah, you can, but it's still tricky. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so basically his internet was totally screwed up. Like he would get 80 ping to Singapore, 200 to Hong Kong. And if I'm not wrong, like VPN doesn't really work for Indian players.
I mean, it could work, but the city you're staying in is, the internet's pretty scuffed if you're trying to connect. Yeah.
So that's totally ripped. So the story about like the ESL Pro League was basically we found out that we were keeping the slot only a day before, and they told us submit your roster. So we had nobody around to try. So fine, like we were like, okay, fine. Let's ask someone. And then Equitas asked if we want to try Deathmaker. We're like, okay, great, because he probably can shoot really well, and we know this. Right, so we basically had to sign him up as soon as we agreed a loan fee for him. So we paid global money to loan Deathmaker to us, and then when he first got on, we realized, okay, this guy is playing with 200 ping, and it's almost impossible for him to play. Like really, as far as I'm concerned, he did amazing for his ping, like insanely.
Yeah, I remember him having a pretty good map here or there.
Yeah, he was really, really good. Like, but his main problem is that he has a stutter, and for me, like if you have like this kind of like communication issues, it's really hard for. Okay, first, I think I speak really fast, so like a Singaporean thing, right? Our accent, we speak quick. Yeah, so Deathmaker's there, he's stuttering, and he can't get the information out in time. Secondly, he told me that he's been communicating in global in Hindi, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So for him to switch from Hindi to English and have a stutter, it was like total nightmare for him. And then not to mention us, because we couldn't understand him. we didn't know what he wanted to do.
Especially with like 1 or 2 days of practice, I guess. Yeah,
it was impossible. So we practiced for a week, but like out of the week, 2 days he had to not play. He couldn't play because his ping just went crazy. Like he had 200, so we had to just cancel the practice. Then after we walked in, played Vici first game, like gauntlet of fire, you know, like just ran in. We still managed to take a map off them, so I was like super impressed.
Yeah, that was surprising. I won't lie.
So like, but I spent pretty much the entire match like babysitting him because like it was too difficult and I had to figure out what the hell to do and I gave up. So I just like, okay, I'll just follow me. I'm gonna jump, you try and kill the guy, or like go kill Jem Yang, you know, because he's actually surprisingly sharp, like really like robotic sharp. And I mean I like the guy. He's super nice. It's just that starter problem and he's so unlucky to have it. I don't think he can fix it. Like it's gonna follow him wherever he goes. People just have to get used to him, and we didn't have the time to do it.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, super unfortunate. I really think he's good enough to play in like somewhere else if it's not India. Definitely good enough.
That's good to know.
Okay. Well, that's a very, very long discussion. I didn't think we were going to go that long, but maybe we'll have to cut out some of the segments or cut down some of the segments for the rest of the episode. Because this, to be honest, I think is more of the interesting stuff anyway. So more to the Paper X roster changes again. I know we were sort of talking about this just before we started recording, Alex, but I wanted to get your thoughts on moving to coach. Like we've said already, you were someone that did coach for BOOT a little bit before you actually played again in BOOT. So what's the whole situation here? Are you happy to be moving to coach? Do you think that you're going to be able to have an impact as the coach? What's the whole deal?
Well, I mean, start of the year when I signed for Paper X, Nick already told me basically sees me more as a coach manager than a player because like I'm a lot older than the rest of the guys and stuff.
Yep.
So I already knew this was coming. But like when DSN called me and told me that I was going to be a coach, we're going to move forward because I actually wasn't aware that they already signed f0rsakeN. So I found out on Monday and I was like really heartbroken because like for me it's like my dream is ending, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Definitely no longer going to be a player, and I was really sad for like a whole of 2 hours. But
That's a long time, man.
Yeah. So but like I mean I just came to terms with it really quick. I was like, okay, this is it. I mean I'm not gonna be able to play anymore. I don't even want to play CS anymore. Like as of now, I'm not gonna touch it as a competitive. I would happily play a Valorant tournament because I get the competitive like matches and like the feel. I would just go to Valorant and play something and lose. I don't care. But like for me, CS, I'm not gonna touch it as a player anymore. I've decided. So, I mean, I've come to terms with it really quick, and I'm really excited for the new roster. So, yeah, I'm very happy to be coaching this particular roster. And I think I'm very lucky that they managed. I mean, the organization is very ambitious, so they signed whoever they thought was the right fit for the team. And I mean, f0rsakeN and Tommy are really good players in my opinion. So, I think they do great.
All right, well, let's touch on those two then for a bit. I think we don't really need to touch quite so much on Tommy because we've seen him a lot. We know him a bit. We've seen him in BOOT, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of same old. Sorry, Tommy, if you're watching this. You're not as interesting as f0rsakeN at the moment. But look, I need something for the clickbait here, Alex. So what's your thoughts on f0rsakeN? Does he live up to the hype? And, like you said, this is an ambitious maybe roster move for Paper X. So where do you see this going? Is this going to like save Southeast Asia Counter-Strike?
Yeah, I will. So f0rsakeN is really, really good. For a 16-year-old, amazing. Like the Nevin kind, like Splashske kind, you know. Like just came on, super young, just hits every shot. He's not really good. He's not really an AWPer. So like you see him play a lot of anchor rolls and CT and stuff, like plays at the corners, but he's like really solid. Like he thinks fast on his feet. You know, like I mean like when they told me I was being replaced by f0rsakeN, I was like, can't really compete.
Wait, the Indian one or the Indonesian one?
The Indian one is gone, man. I don't know where he is. Yeah, the Indonesian one. I mean, look, the guy has so much energy. He's homeschooled right now by his father. All right, so that he can pursue his esports career. He could easily join the Stacks team in Valorant. I guarantee you, he's so good in any game he plays. Dota, Valorant, whatever. He speaks. For some reason, he can speak Thai. All right, I don't know how. I absolutely don't know how this happened, but he can speak Thai. He just picked it up by talking to people. It's like just made to play games and stream.
Oh my god! I hope he doesn't join Beyond.
Is he like a brainchild? Like, is he just a fucking smart as shit kid or what?
It doesn't feel that way, but like he seems to pick up everything very fast.
That's insane.
All right, so
like he has more Thai people in his stream than he has Indonesian people, if I'm not wrong. He just speaks to them like he can read Thai and speak to them in Thai. I don't know how that happened. He has no schooling in Thai. I don't know how he picked it up.
So presumably he speaks English as well, right? If he's in your team.
Yeah. Not very well. But I'm very sure. I mean, like it's the same. I had I had Davai when he couldn't really speak very good English. It was the same for Mindfreak, but they pick it up after a while. So I'm expecting within 3 months he'll be speaking perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I can just read Thai from just speaking to a few people. I think English should be okay, honestly.
He's like,
I remember speaking to Davai a little bit at Cobex, and he seemed to be okay. So I guess that sort of comes across pretty quickly.
he's shy, you know?
Yeah, but Davai's from Malaysia, so I think there's a lot of English speakers in Malaysia.
Yeah.
I don't know so much about Indonesia though.
He's one of the better ones though.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so where do you see this going then for PaperX, right? This is the time where you get to say that you're going to be the best in SEA, and we'll keep
We'll be the best in SEA.
going back to this moment and saying, yeah, they were going to be the best.
Just
6 months later,
record,
we're like, what the fuck happened?
100%.
You're on the record to say that.
On the record, yeah. If you include BTRG in SEA, we're going to be the best in SEA.
Okay.
Is that because everyone else is just shit, or are you guys going to genuinely be good and be like boot tier again?
We'll be genuinely good, and there's nobody in SEA as well.
Okay, so Alex literally said Beyond and Bren are nobodies. I like that.
We'll beat Beyond, we'll beat Bren, we'll smash BTRG. That's the plan.
Okay.
Does BTRG count as an SEA team at this point? I feel like they're kind of like...
They have 2 Indonesians, 1 Singaporean that lives in Brunei.
Yeah, in terms of nationality, they do. But BTRG is a Chinese org, isn't it?
It's a Chinese org, yeah.
So...
They play a lot of Chinese tournaments.
They're an all-Asian team, let's put it that way.
Yes, all-Asian team.
Okay. All right.
Well, in that case, it's easier for me, right?
Well, then the final question then on... Yeah, I guess. The final question then on PaperX and all these roster changes, unless these guys have another one that they want to throw in afterwards, is... Was there anyone else that you thought about adding to the PaperX roster? Or I guess maybe you don't know, right? Because this was a decision that seems to have come from above you. But
it's a management, yeah.
Yeah. So you're not aware of any others?
No. I mean, like, everybody's contracted, so it's pretty hard. Like, literally, the opportunity came up because JMT like dissolved their contracts. So that was f0rsakeN right there, and either that. Maybe I don't know if they were looking at like the Chinese players, but I don't think they want to have. I mean, like, because of the reputation, they don't really want to have any Chinese players in the team. And also because it's a SEA team, and the goal for PaperX is actually to house them all in Singapore.
Yeah.
So having a Chinese guy get a visa is a lot harder than it is for like Indonesians and the Malaysian.
For sure.
So it had to be someone from SEA, for sure, if they were looking at anyone.
All right, interesting. Do you guys, Pilsky, maybe if you're interested in asking any questions here, remember we do have that QA thing at the end, which will be a little bit more general stuff. So,
I think one of my questions from that kind of fits into this discussion, so we may as well say it now, which is just how do you sort of contrast this new roster with the old boot roster? And to pick up on something that you said, you want to play this structured gameplay with Benkai calling and stuff. So if I remember the old boot roster, when you guys were like playing Tyloo and qualifying for some international events, playing pretty well in Asia, not just in Southeast Asia, beating the Thai teams, you guys like to play a lot of train, you like to play nuke, you like to play a pretty more sort of EU style game rather than the other SEA teams, like the Thai teams that just like to run around and shoot people and stuff like that a bit more. Is that the plan for this roster? And also, how much of the structure are you responsible for implementing and sort of keeping people disciplined and stuff? That's both in the old roster and in this one.
Well, I guess we can start with the old roster. Actually, I actually prefer the old roster play style, of course, because I was IGL, so obviously I prefer it. But like I felt a little bit looser. In the sense that I usually let the players call the plays, and then after I try and call around it. So I would let them I would let Leslie say I want to do this, and then I'll let Leslie is Bobosaur, so I would let him do that, and then after I'll try and like help him get I'll come up with a plan on the fly, and then we trying to get the situation. So Benkai's way of calling is a bit more EU, right? It's like a bit more like map control, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, do this, and then after that we end strong, you know, or we make a mid-round call and we move somewhere. So how much I'll be involved? I think for the start, my priority as a coach is, okay, honestly, my opinion for CS, for any coaching thing is that if you want to be successful, you probably need a team of coaches rather than just one. In my opinion, if you want to improve a team, you can't just be like, I can't just like watch everything and be in charge of everything. It's really hard. So either the players need to step up themselves, or I need to like go step by step. So for me, the first 3 months, right, my entire goal will be to improve them individually rather than tactically. I leave that totally Benkai. And with regards to Benkai, I'm probably going to have only discussions with him regarding playstyle and trying to make him a better caller. So I'll just like criticize him on calling. Really, I'll just give him my perspective, give him some new ideas and stuff. But every other player, I want to push them in the direction of becoming a better player. So I want to be extra critical on like the way they shoot, like the shot selection, the decision making, everything, whether they have good positions in the map and whether they make stupid ass peaks, like they just like Chinese the thing. And I don't want that, I want them to be like really as good as they can be, in the sense that they just make the right decisions. Even if it comes to like the small things like panic spraying and stuff. I want to be like on their ass if I see them panic, like they lose their minds and they just wipe into 3 people. I want to be like super hard on that. So that's what I'm going to do I'm going to make them as good as they can be in the first 3 months before I even talk about like tactical stuff. That's my plan, at least.
If you have them all living together, you can buy one of those inflatable do not peek bats and you can just smack them in the head.
That's exactly what I want to do.
That's good. All right, that's it from you, Pili.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to talk about the Funspark Ulti 2020 Asia Qualifier. Now, I don't really want to spend too much time on this because we're already running a little bit over time, but there's not so much to say, largely because I think that this is an event that's probably not even going to go ahead. But if you are a regular listener, you would have heard an episode or 2 ago, we talked about this event, which is supposedly a LAN in China that's going to happen in December. I don't see that happening, but this is the Asia Qualifier. It actually starts today as we're recording this. I think one of the games might even be live right now. I have a quick look on HLTV, and Vici and BTRG are playing at the moment. So 9-6 favoring Vici in the first half, but look, whatever. The interesting thing is it's like a 16-team qualifier for the Asia region, which has a 15k USD prize pool. So you've got all the big names in there: Vici, BTRG, Marzalai, Beyond, Hunt 1-3, Divine Vendetta. Huatsai's even in there. Let's Quit, which is another Chinese team. So that's Group A. Like, that's just one group. And then you look at the other group, which is Invictus, Bren, D13, Gigi Hao, New Happy, Lin Vision, Tiger, Zero TSG. I actually think Group A is probably a little bit stronger there, if I just had to throw one in the mix. But the reality is, and the interesting thing that I thought about this tournament was that, like, imagine if every Asia qualifier was like this tournament. Imagine we had actual qualifiers for things like, I don't know, ESL Pro League might have been a good one to have.
Have you heard of this small tournament called ESL 1 Cologne?
Yeah.
Just a small 4-team tournament.
Oh,
yeah,
a little
one of that.
Yeah, that was unfair, man.
So,
yeah.
All right, Bleh, this is your time to rant. All I want to say is, how does this fucking thing have this LAN that's not even going to be a LAN? We know that. How does this have a 16-team qualifier with a 15k USD prize pool? And ESL 1 Cologne and ESL Pro League can't have a qualifier.
Because they give a shit. Because the guys behind Funspark Ulti, they actually give a shit about the region. Now, I'm not saying for ESL, look, let's be real here, right? Like the EUNA, that's where Counter-Strike really resides. That's where all the big teams are and everything. But in a time in this COVID situation and everything, with the major kind of being postponed, and let's be real, the biggest events in Asia, whenever ESL say, hey, let's have an IEM in Shanghai or in Beijing or whatever, or once in a while they'll have Perfect World doing an event with PGL. And then you used to have Extreme Slant. You used to have something, right? Something, or at least the minors to play for. And now there's nothing. And now is the time for some of the big TOs out there. I'm looking at the DreamHacks and the ESLs and everyone else for that matter, where you give a little something here. Don't even put a prize pool. Fuck the prize pool. Don't even give any prize pool for the qualifiers. That's completely fine. Just give a little bit, like a semblance of a shit. And it's not 200, 300 teams are going to be playing like how it is over in EU when you have these open qualifiers, right? Just a basic double elim bracket, 16 teams, like just exactly what these guys did. You don't even have to stream everything. Just give it to some of the up and coming casters in Australia, some of the ones over. I do believe there are a couple of casters in Philippines, for example, who are looking to do this. Yeah. They would fucking happily do this for free. Just let them cover it. Let them do a tournament like this. Just give a shit, right? And which is very sad for me personally, because I remember when Michael, who's not very famous for the entire catching the coaching bug and everything, when he was an ESL head admin, I remember he reached out and he actually ran past me the teams that he thought he was going to be inviting for the regional local qualifiers for the Asian minor, right? He's like, okay, what about these teams for the Middle East? What about these teams for Southeast Asia? And I actually spoke to him and we discussed, we threw some ideas, then he made up his mind. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the final teams which are invited, but I really appreciate them trying to reach out. Doesn't have to be me. Could be anyone. Could be to you, Jordan. Could be even to someone like, would be conflict of interest with Alex because he's playing, but it could be someone like Pilsky. Could be anyone in the region who knows the scene. And I respected that. And I'm like, this is going the right direction. This is what we need to see in the future. And then it just kind of died out. It could be because he left and then they got some newer referees coming in who maybe just can't be arsed or whatever. But just come on, man, throw us a bone. Just give us something. Give it opportunity instead of just look, Tyloo's probably going to win anyway. All right, Vici's going to come, be cucked as usual in the finals, and Pilsey's going to be weeping. Sorry, rather, Jordan, you're going to be weeping into your pillow late at night. It's probably going to be the same fucking story all over again. However, at least, it helps us gauge where everyone is. Like, if you look at the POL, the Perfect World Oceanic League, which just took place right now recently, that was great. That was fucking fantastic because, yes, Avant weren't there due to unfortunate circumstances, but we got to see Renegades, who won. We got to see Order, who came second, expected. We got to see Cheese with his new line. We got to see Downfall, who caught me by surprise. We got to see so many newer, younger players. And suddenly, guess what? If you're a team, if you're an org in Australia who's looking to build a team to compete against Renegades, you'll be like, okay, I see these guys over here. I can pick these guys up. You open up opportunities for some of these unknown teams. You give them time in the sun, and you get them to shine. And these are the opportunities which just being kind of, I don't want to say stolen, but more denied. And it doesn't take much, for fuck's sake. It doesn't take much.
All right. That's a good one. That was a good rant from you, Bleh. Appreciate that one.
Done. Thank you. I try.
All right, Alex. Do you have any 2 cents, agreeing with Bleh here or disagreeing, or what do you think? Does this Asia qualifier even matter, or?
Just from experience this year, like I've not played anything. It just feels like I've been training for the last 8 months and not played much. So I agree. Yeah, like I don't think they care. So I mean, it really sucks. But I think that's been the sentiment here all this time, right? Like, yes, or at least nobody cares about Asian Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
So other than the yearly
Extreme
IEM Sydney Extreme Lands, where we actually have a qualifier that we can go to, and they have like more than one Asian team there. We don't get thrown a bone much.
What about like some of those Chinese tournaments that you did play? What were they called? CAC? Like, are there Asia qualifiers for those?
I didn't play CAC.
There were though, but I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it was a Chinese only qualifier. And I can't really blame them because it's meant to be perfect world, China, and all of that. But again, like it needs to be even, dude, like, fuck it, man. Even if it's just like a 128 team open single, like, single elim bracket, I don't care. Even that's okay. It's not the best, but even that's okay. But just making an invite only qualifier, it defeats the entire purpose of being a qualifier.
Yeah. Anyways,
I mean, like, I feel like they should just forget all this qualifier thing and just open the tournament. Don't invite anyone. Just seed all the top teams and just make it a 128 team qualifier and just be done with it. Save them some time.
Fuck it, do it.
It's quite difficult. I guess that'd be more difficult to run though if you had all those teams.
It would be more difficult for us to win.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's harder to run though. Like, just because most of the time they just like, there's just a ESC channel. If you have any problem, message them. Pretty much everything runs itself, right?
Oh, I have no idea. I've never been a tournament organizer or anything like that, so I wouldn't know the logistics.
Basically, they set up in ESCA. We join the platform. The thing just runs itself. If we do run into problem, we go to them and we say, look, we start this round.
So like it automatically assigns you servers and shit like that, is what you're saying?
That's everything for us.
Okay. Look, I know that there's some good people in Asia from ESL and even in Australia who like kind of care about this sort of stuff, but it seems like there's like this
the powers
upper barrier that they can't go past, and then there's still a decision that has to be made above the head. So that's my impression of what's going on. And I don't know that that's ever going to change, but hey, who knows? Maybe Geographically Challenged, now that it's a internationally recognized HLTV approved podcast, is going to make a difference. Anyway, we'll move on from Funspark Ulti.
You're still going to be bringing that up in like 7 months from now, like when the view count has gone down to 17. There's one person subscribing to Elfishguy's Patreon for feet pics, and you're fucking eating Indomie out of a small like plastic bowl you've reused 3 times, and you're still going to be saying that.
It's the crowning achievement of my Counter-Strike career, apart from casting ESL Pro League finals in Dallas, which was fucking too long ago now to, keep crowing about. So I'm not
even going to look up the date of that tournament.
I think it was 2018 from memory, so 2 years ago now. Anyway, we'll move on to the WDNMD Asia Invitational. I mean, fuck me. Can they just make these easier to pronounce for me? That would be great. $50,000 tournament though, but BTRG won. So look, Bleh,
Yeah.
I know we talked about this in our little WhatsApp group. I said BTRG finally won something. You said who gives a shit? So this could be you, Pilski. What do you reckon about that?
First of all, I'm gonna take $1,000 out of that prize pool, and I'm gonna give it to Alex so that he can come up with a better name. Than WDNMD. What do you reckon, Alex? Chinese tournament. What are we going with here?
I don't know, man. Like for me, if you knew like the Chinese language, it sounds a bit like some kind of vulgarity.
Oh,
With WND.
Jesus. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know what they were thinking. But I mean, it must stand for something like totally in Chinese. That's why we don't get it.
Let me have a look and see.
It's just the Hanyu ping. I can't come up with anything. Just
all right. Well,
WMD,
yeah.
WMD. There we go.
WMD.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't know. BTRG beat D13 in the finals, but Tyloo was playing and did not come into the grand final.
Yep.
Seems like a bit of a question mark to me. Like that should just be a tournament that Tyloo should win if they are trying to win
by
it.
The way. Invictus as well.
Yeah, IG. Yeah, look, to be honest, like that just seems like a bit of a missed tournament where maybe people aren't going 100% all out, and BTRG and D13 goes in there. I would have to look closer at the bracket and some of the results to kind of make up my mind a bit better, which we don't really have the time for. But just as something that's at a glance, that you should probably be seeing Tyloo and IG place above those kind of teams.
So the weird thing is for me, you say that's like a throwaway tournament, but it's a 50k tournament, you know? Like, Alex, maybe you have a bit more light to shed on here, but are the Chinese orgs just that rich that they really don't give a shit about a 50k USD tournament?
But I actually think it's because it's Lim Vision that beat Tyloo twice. They actually have the number.
Okay.
They've always taken maps of Tyloo, like consistently, even last year. So they bumped into Lim Vision twice in group stage, and apparently, according to this, they've bumped into them once again, lower bracket.
Yeah.
So that's who they lost to.
Do you think there's a bit of a factor with that with IG as well? Because IG seemed to beat some Chinese tournaments. Is there some weird fuckery going on with that Chinese scene where they seem to be able to take games off each other?
Nah, but I mean, look, aside from Tyloo and Vici, the rest are just not consistent. It's the truth. But particularly because there's this team called 1-3. Who happens to have all the aim lots in China in one single team. I think those guys who, if you bump into them, right, it can be like totally GG from game one, from round one.
Yeah.
I mean, but they do have, Karsa.
1-3?
Yeah,
I think
right?
he's coaching him.
No, I think he's moved off the team, yeah.
So 1-3 lineup now is DD, Ian, Gas,
Bottle still there?
Yeah, Bottle's still in there.
I think so.
That's always been my dream for Chinese Counter-Strike, actually, is to have like DD, Bottle, somebody all on the set. Like just stack as many aggressive Chinese aimers as you can and send them and see what happens. That's my dream.
2 days ago, Bottle joined IG.
Oh, what?
What?
Where are you getting this information? This is why we need
Alex.
Hang on.
Can we add him to
Where are you getting
WhatsApp
this from,
group,
mate? What's going on? Is this
I'm looking at it right now.
This is breaking fucking news if this is true.
Yeah,
my
Bottle was
God.
there.
Where's this from?
5th of September on Liquipedia I joined. But it's true because when I asked them to scrim, they told me they're a new player, IG.
Wait. There hasn't even been an announcement about this.
Wait, who's he replacing?
Oi.
Let me see. Oi.
Yeah.
He replaced Oi.
September 6th.
like
Well, at least he had his time in the sun on that Cologne broadcast, Pilski.
Yeah, look, I think Oi was just sort of like one of those average players, to be honest. And then like sometimes I saw him have like a pretty decent game, but all things considered, like if I get offered putting Bottle on IG, I just put Bottle on IG because my analogy for Bottle is we have this like thing in Australia which is called glassing, which is where you break a bottle and you threaten someone with it, and that's just Bottle as a player. You just smash a bottle on a counter and just run at somebody.
So he's just going to be the bottle.
Have you ever stabbed anyone like with a broken bottle?
Definitely not. I'm from a very like privileged part of Sydney, Blair, so I definitely haven't stabbed anyone.
Yeah, man. Have
I'm
you
pretty
seen that
sure
face? Seriously.
From Jordan's general demeanor, I'm pretty sure he's not from a dodgy part of Australia either. So you're definitely talking to the wrong Australians if you're looking to ask about stabbings.
I'm so disappointed.
I'm an upper middle class white boy, and I fucking love it.
I'm the exact same, mate.
Anyways, so okay, well, look, fuck. Okay, now we have to talk about that, I guess, because that's kind of big news, right? Is that part of the reason that Invictus kind of shit the bed in Pro League, do you reckon? Like, do you reckon they knew that they were making that change?
Nah, I highly doubt so.
Or is that the change? Is that the reason for the change?
Like that.
They're just like,
yeah, okay, bye.
Yeah, so they played shit, and
Your
it's like, well,
your stats not good enough. No, but like for me in Chinese culture, usually like the stats matter a lot.
Okay.
You know, it's a money ball for them. So if you can't perform, you're out. It's quite cutthroat there.
That's very ruthless.
And if I'm not wrong, Botto is like I think DSN told me that he won like some AIM championship in China before. So
yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's sharp. Yeah,
he's
sharp
nuts. He's just a bit of a brick.
In what way? The way he looks.
No, not the way he looks. Come on, mate. You can't bring personal attacks into this. No, like here's an example, right? I've already said this on Geographically Challenged before, so this is like an example for your benefit, Alex. But I remember watching Bottle play a round of Inferno where his whole team was playing passive on the A site and he was the dig player.
Oh,
he had a full belt of utility and he's just trying to fight the CT team fucking coming up brackets and trying to take a map control, and he hasn't used a single grenade, and he's just trying to frag as many people as he can without the rest of his team.
Yeah,
so ever since I've seen him just do shit like that consistency, I just thought he's a bit of a brick.
Okay, I get it now.
All right.
I like the team though. I feel like f0rsakeN could maybe smack him in the back of the skull, saying, "Throw your fucking nades." Anyway.
Nah, I reckon you just send him. I reckon this is a sick team, to be honest. Like, Bottle flying as your, like, rifling core. Viva's inconsistent as fuck, but he doesn't need to, like, pull as much weight when you've got Bottle in the team.
Give love to Destroyer.
Destroyer's pretty good as well, and f0rsakeN's a fragging IGL. That's a fucking scary team. That's a fucking scary team to play.
Are you afraid of that team, Alex?
A little bit.
It's like Tyloo version 2.0,
I'll be honest, f0rsakeN has always been a freaking thorn in my side ever since I play against him. Like, he always drops 30 on my team.
He is insane
so good.
for like a 30-year-old
when he wants to play
guy.
When that guy wants to play, he can play. It's whether he wants to or not. That's the problem.
I think that's a very common theme or thread in Asian Counter-Strike. Do they want to play or are they just fucking throwing right now? Like, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, Jordan,
Look, I don't even know if I want to move on from this discussion because it's so good. But we do have a lot of topics to cover today. And the next one is the Perfect World Oceania League, which Pilsky and I somehow dodged. Well, look, Bleh, you're the expert in this one because we actually haven't cast it. I didn't watch any of it. I slept through all of it. That was in the wrong time zone for me, funnily enough. So, look, I know you don't you don't talk too much about ANZ Counter-Strike with us, but now that you've seen that, is there any sort of pearlers that you've sort of picked up on that might have changed your opinion on something, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, as you clearly know, I did used to follow like Aussie CS for quite a long time, to like mid 2018, thereabouts. So that's when I really honestly didn't have the time to too much Counter-Strike to really follow, but I just kept looking up, just observing from the sidelines. And one thing that sticks out to me here, obviously Avant not being in the event, that's a big blow. And I really wanted to see how they were going to perform. One thing, apart from Renegades just going to third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, they seem to always have this next level they go to when needs be, right? Yep. So Renegades, King of the Hill, best team in the region, 100%. I feel so bad for them that are stuck down under and started playing lands right now. They could be doing so much damage. And I feel this team could be a top 20 team. At least a top 25 team, 100%. And I'm saying this, it's not hyperbole. They play good Counter-Strike. The calling is fantastic. Dexter is a god. He's a sexter. Order is very inconsistent, but they seem to have, again, they rely so much on the individual to step up, and it's really good to see Justillo being still the lobster. He is a rock. He's consistent as hell. Ricky has those moments, right, when it's almost impossible, 1v3 clutch, 1v4 clutch. He makes it look so goddamn easy. Alistair here's the thing, when he's on, my fucking god, he's on. He looks almost unplayable. The guy is sick. Not consistent enough. Yep. That is my biggest gripe with this guy. Like, he's not like I feel like at a peak he's better than Sicko, but when he's not at his peak, which is, let's say, 60% of the time, he's below average. He's not playing even close to his level, and I think that needs to be fixed. Jyra, Valiants, up and down, they play the roles fine, they're great. I want to talk more about Chiefs. This Vexite kid, man, like, this team, suddenly they look hungry. They're looking good. They're looking very good. Yeah, and I think it's great. Finally, this experiment we touched upon, if I think one of the earlier episodes of Geographically Challenged, where we're like, okay, they're getting this young team on, they're making a big change. Is it going to pan out? Couple more months, I feel it's going to pan out. It's looking good, this experiment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're aware. I'm sure you are that was actually Vexite's first tournament with Chiefs. It
was
like a core sort of capacity. He might have played some scrims here and there, that kind of thing. But they picked him up like you said when we were talking about it. That was like 3, 4, 5 months ago. It feels like a long time ago that they actually haven't really been playing Counter-Strike. So that's why I say like they should be hungry, right? This is a team that is very similar to F0rsakeN in that they've got a good roster, but they just haven't had anything to play in. They haven't been able to play because this guy's been 15 and they've been playing with subs and they've been having, Noisier here, Yam there, and you're just like, what's the fucking point of even playing, right? Until you have your core. Now that they have their core though, if they can take a spot in the top 4 in Oz, that's going to be really good. But I kind of want to see them push for second place. Let's be real, they're not going to beat Renegades at this point. But if they can push second and really sort of get the better of Order and Avant consistently, that's where you start to think, okay, that was a good decision.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, right now for me, it's making the top 3 look a little bit more interesting. Right now, they're getting challenged not just with Rooster, Mako Shark. Not much to say about them. They just came. They seem to just have fun, just winging it. That's fine. Rooster again. Dangerous team, very, very dangerous team. I still feel like they're too YOLO for my liking. I think Netic and ASAP are fucking sick. They're like fucking sick, man. And I really want them to kind of be more a more focused in their approach. I feel this team has potential, but they are their worst enemies. Chelios, he's been quiet. I know he's calling and everything, but I think he's calling, and he's been kind of quiet. And I feel like that is a problem. They seem to kind of plateaued a little bit. And a team like Chiefs, the way they're performing, if they're not careful, they're just going to get knocked down. And that opportunity for them to crack the top 3 just might slip away. Paradox, nothing much to say about them. They were okay, nothing too special. But the downfall roster, man. Moop has a bunch of some very, very sharp tools to work with in that shed of his. Savage, I think he's still 15, I think, or just turned 16.
No, he would have had to have been 16, I think, to play in POL, or maybe not.
He says he's 15.
Right.
He's 15.
Yeah, maybe not.
The kid is sick. My God, he was like consistently top fragging for his team. You have Licky and Mizzy who are all right, just above average, definitely playing the roles. 2D. Look, the guy looks like a lunatic. That hair, that mane on his head is fucking fantastic. But what's even more fantastic is his opping. He's not an Alistair. He's not like a Ricky. He's not like a sharp, not like a sicko star player. But he somehow makes it work. I saw him opping on the T side in Inferno. I'm like, damn, this guy knows how to work it. But again, the caveat being they're playing against opponents of a lower caliber. I didn't see most of his teams play against Renegades, so I really can't judge them for it. But one thing that stands out to me, 100%, is there is a lot of young talent in the Australian region right now who's playing Counter-Strike. And I think that's a good sign. I feel like usually when I watch Asian Counter-Strike at the end of the event, I feel like, just drowning my sorrows away and just like staring into the void and wondering why I even still am a proponent of Asian Counter-Strike. For a change, it was refreshing to finish an event, the Australian event. At the end of the day, I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm like, yeah, this is good. You're seeing some good talent. Sure, Renegades won. Surprise, surprise. But I think it's a very, very good sign for the region that, in the next year or two, you're going to be seeing some very sick teams coming up, apart from your usual Orders or Avants or Renegades.
Okay, cool. I don't know if you have any 2 cents you want to really throw in there, Pilsky. I know you wouldn't have watched much of that, but it just seems like
I got to experience what it's like for all the EU folk who go, irrelevant tier 59 Australian CS tournament that happened while I was sleeping. Who gives a fuck? Because that's basically like what the sleep schedule I was on was like. I think Rooster got hard done by in this tournament. If you look at the bracket, they only lost 2 games. They only got to play 3 games. They lost to Renegades and Order, and they beat Ground Zero. So they lost to like the 2 teams in the grand final and didn't get to play any of the other teams. I reckon you put Rooster against Downfall, Mako, like literally any other of the other teams, and they fist them.
Maybe even Chiefs, right? Like we don't know what
even
that matchup
Chiefs,
looks like.
I reckon they would have beat Chiefs. As for Chiefs, I think I have sort of like cemented my opinion that Zeph is like a fucking tier 1 player in AU, and that he got like 100%. Horrendously misused on Order when they had him on the roster. He's a really sick, aggressive rifler that could actually be on any of the better teams. For me, this Chiefs roster is down to Vexite. I noticed that he's had 2 series that he played against Order, One of them he played pretty good, and then in the important one he played like shit. So that's a classic like younger player who sort of hinges on that inconsistent performance, and that's gonna affect the team. If the important player that you put a lot of time and resources into and put in some important roles plays bad in a critical series, you're gonna fucking lose. And that's the way it goes.
Yep. I don't know that it's necessarily fair to put that level of expectation on him just yet, though. Right? He's only just turned 16. This is his first big team in ANZCS, and you're gonna say ANZCS not a big deal, whatever. But let's be real. That's a pretty big tournament for someone that's 16 years old to be playing in. So I still think that you give him time. I just don't want to see him turn into someone like, I don't even know if I want to say a name here, but I think we all know the kind of, I don't know, let's just say I don't want him to be a prodigy that doesn't turn out to, end up going anywhere. Let's just say that much. Okay. Anyway, hopefully someone gives him some time. Hopefully he's going to be able to sort of move on and, be the next Ins or be the next, I don't know, whatever. Fucking who cares? Whatever. You know what I mean? But let's just temper our expectations for a little while for this Chiefs. I think everyone's getting a little bit maybe overhyped about Vexi and about Chiefs. And maybe I'll be on that bandwagon when I watch them play. I haven't actually watched them play with Vexi yet, but I always see these new young players come in and everyone's like, they're going to be the fucking sickest player in Australia. And then you see them play and they're pretty good. But they stick around for 6-12 months and then they're gone and you don't see them anymore. So let's just see whether or not that happens first. Anyway, that's like the end of the news, the results, and, I suppose the roster change discussion as well, although we didn't expect to have a roster change discussion today. Now we move into the chat shit segment, which is really where we just get to talk about whatever we want. And because we have a guest on these kinds of episodes, this is the Q&A session with Alecks. So we've all got some questions for you, Alecks, although you have had a few already. But we'll start going through. And if Bleh or Pilski, if you have some questions that you want to throw in here that aren't in the document, feel free. And Alecks, if you have a question for us, you can fucking fire it away. And we also have a viewer question here as well at the end. So we'll touch on that as well. So
I actually just want to ask, like, what's the Valorant scene like in Australia?
So we have a bunch of different games which have some players that have sort of switched over from like Overwatch and all these different games like PUBG. Bunch of different scenes coming together, similar in other countries. The best teams are, at least from the tournament results that I've seen, and I'm not like super involved in it, but just from the big tournaments that we've had, all of the best teams are Counter-Strike teams. Yeah. One of those Counter-Strike teams has, I don't know how familiar you are with CS, but Tux and Texter, who are like banned players from Chiefs, who are very, very good CS players that don't play CS anymore for that reason, or contributing factor anyway. That's by far and away the best team, and the other CS teams are like mixed teams of players that were, pretty good, maybe like in the professional leagues, but just an average sort of team, like with a couple of standouts.
Bottom of the top 8 maybe would be where a lot of these players I think would have sat.
Some better than that at times, but for the most part, just below average to average professional players.
I actually want to add something to that. Alecks, this one goes to you, right?
Sure.
You see a lot of this. I think there was recently the qualifier for one of the Ignition series in Southeast Asia for Valorant. And I was looking at all the teams, and about 70% of the players in that tournament, I'm like, I know all you motherfuckers. I know all you motherfuckers. You guys did jack shit at Counter-Strike. And now I'm going to move on to Valorant.
Look, I mean,
and here's
the champion's AHQ, right?
Yeah?
Was it? Yeah, CS players, CS. They're from Taiwanese.
But
they're from 1.6.
But here's the thing. I went back because I've been watching a little bit of NA and EU Valorant, and obviously I've been watching like the Tier 1 teams. So obviously there's going to be difference, but also been watching a little bit of Jupiter, our good old Japanese guys team over there playing. And I look at what these guys are doing. Again, it's the same fucking thing. All right, I tweeted about this yesterday. The same fucking thing. They're just death matching. They're just looking for aim deals.
I mean,
they're playing the same way.
I totally agree. In my opinion, it's going to be the same thing. It's like Asian CS, Asian Valorant, same. It's just exactly the same.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing.
I think I said
me.
that.
Although it's sad.
I think I said something similar.
I totally agree.
Back in another episode, I pretty much said like, everyone's, again, it was similar to that Chiefs thing. It's like everyone needs to just fucking simmer down a little bit. Like, let's just remember this Japanese CS team, which is apparently godlike in Valorant, was never even consistently a top 4 Asian CS team, which doesn't speak for a whole lot. So everyone that's saying they're going to go over to EU and NA and fucking destroy is like, hang on, you haven't even seen them play outside of Asia just yet. So I'd love to see it. Really would.
No, well, honestly, I feel they are very, very, very decent. But yeah, I agree with you that we shouldn't really blow it out of proportion. They're definitely they're like leagues ahead of all these other teams. And the SEA teams, like I said, Jordan, with Valorant coming out, look, I'm not someone who's like, oh, CS only, fuck Valorant, fuck. I'm not that. I like more new games coming out. If Valorant is gonna kind of bring up the FPS scene in countries like, in Korea and Japan and maybe get them interested in the FPS genre as a whole, so be it. Fuck yeah, let's go for it, right? Yep. And I was one of the earliest proponents. I'm like, you know what? If Asian CS could never be a thing, maybe Asian Valorant will be a thing. Maybe we can challenge it best. And I was looking forward to that. But I look at all these teams jumping on over, and it's the same mentality, it's the same approach, it's the same bullshit approach to a tactical shooter. And I mean, Alex just said it as well. It just doesn't work that way. You're not just going to go and out-aim, let's say, a Sentinels or fucking G2 when you qualify for an event like that. If you qualify, if you can even beat Jupiter for that matter.
Well, that's a good way to start the Q&A then. We were going to talk a little bit about Valorant, but in a more overarching sense. So, Alex, I want to get your sort of general feeling on Asia CS because, we obviously talk amongst ourselves and we're sort of seeing a bit of a decline maybe. And I think we've probably got that impression from you as well. So let's just talk about where do you think Asian CS is headed in the next 12 months or so?
Well, to be honest, after hearing you guys give the summary on your POL Australia scene, it looks like your scene is way healthier than the Asian scene. Everyone in Southeast Asia, aside from those in professional teams already, has gone to Valorant.
Yep.
To pursue their professional gaming dreams, and I think it's understandable. So we're not getting any new players, to be honest. When I play Face It now and I'm level 10, I bump into level 6 players. There's nobody left. So Southeast Asia is pretty much dead, in my opinion. Okay. Aside from the teams. There's no more Thai teams. There's only Beyond. There's Dream Disbanded and the whole team has gone to Valorant. Yeah, there's just no one around anymore. Southeast Asia has a grand total of 5 teams, I think. 6 teams that are professional and maybe other people that play for fun.
It makes me
China's healthy for CSGO.
China actually, to me, seems to be in a better shape than it has been even prior to
It's like Valorant hasn't even affected the Chinese CSGO scene at all.
And I watched the Chinese Valorant teams and they just get absolutely shreked by the Koreans.
Yeah, they get destroyed.
It doesn't seem like a lot of the good Chinese players in terms of the FPS have gone to Valorant.
Which is funny, right? Considering the strength of League of Legends in China. So you would think that Riot would have that brand power to bring the players across. But I wonder if there's just enough money in China right now in Counter-Strike that they don't have the incentive to move over.
Well, it's also possible that the Chinese people just don't really like FPS. So a new FPS doesn't matter to them at all because they're pretty much mobile. They're mobile people, You look the same as in Korea.
Crossfire, fucking how many people in China are playing Crossfire when Counter-Strike existed? And then I guess that's the same thing now for Counter-Strike to Valorant, right?
Yep, exactly. So it's the same in Korea in my opinion. They're more mobile people, more RTS people. Yeah. But in Japan it's a bit different. I heard that Japanese Valorant is super popular there.
Yeah, in Japan. We've seen how
Japan's
that
weird.
Off.
Yeah, Japan's kind of weird when it comes to esports, right? If you look from a Western outside of perspective, they're like, oh, Japan, video games, esports, what's big? It's not.
No, it's just Street Fighter, man.
Yeah, Street Fighter is obviously fighting games massive. Rainbow Six, I wasn't aware of this until
they're huge on Rainbow Six.
Yeah, they're big on Rainbow Six, and then now Valorant. But apart from that, all the other games are the single player, these DDR games, and all these Japanese RPGs. It's a very I really want to do a study into the Japanese esports / video gaming scene. I think it's so unique compared to any other country or region in the world.
Yeah, quite different culturally and the psyche around video games, I think. But anyway, that's probably for greater minds than ours. What we do know is Asian Counter-Strike at least. So we'll keep the discussion here then on Asian CS here, a bit more generally. But I wanted to get your thoughts on Tyloo because, obviously you're a player that's been around for fucking ages. And so you've seen all the iterations of Tyloo and you've seen all of them basically be the number 1 team in China, the number 1 team in Asia. It doesn't really seem to matter who's on that roster. As long as there's a Tyloo organization, they're going to be the organization with players on it. They're going to be the best. So what do you think it is that sort of makes Tyloo as an organization dominant? Is it that core roster of players or is there this name power? Are people afraid of them? More or less, what makes people do stupid shit when they go and play against Tyloo?
Sure, but like, it's not. I mean, it's not a joke. Like, really, people are afraid of Tyloo, even in China. Like, they have clout, you know. Like, if you're playing as a Tyloo player, it's like, okay, be careful. Like, they're famous. They have a really strong backing. Like, from what I've heard, that the owners, all the owners in Tyloo, they're really ex-CS players. All played CS. They really love CS. They really want to make sure that they have the best team there. The old players, the summer, somebody. These guys are also incredibly good players, and they've been around for so long. So if you surround these guys with whoever, they're gonna win. And I think they just gotten better at this lineup because they can speak Chinese all the way now and they don't have like language problems anymore. So when sometimes I go to overseas LAN and I get to see the practices, so I stand behind Tyloo as Asian team, right? I'm like, I know these guys. I can chill here. Then I listen to them talk, and Bentet was calling, and I can see that they don't actually understand English that well.
Right.
Like, it's very hard. When Bentet was calling, it's incredible they did as well as they did, right? Because the guy is like calling half Chinese, then he's talking to Xccurate in Indonesian, like it's insane. Like, for me, in my opinion, I listen to that shit, I'm like, okay, it looks like Deathmaker, man. I cannot talk,
I actually,
like,
since you were there, I wanna we've always hypothesized how Bentet used to call for that team, right? Like, we knew, like, he would talk to Xccurate in Bahasa, he would communicate in like mix of Chinese English with these guys. But with the Chinese players, like, if they're holding a side together, would they start talking in Chinese to each other in clutch situations?
I have like so much inside jokes about this because like I get to see all the rubbish that Bentet is calling, and it's like he's telling everyone to go slow and they don't listen to him, like everybody slow, DD, slow, and DD just runs out. Fuck it.
Hey, amazing. That's probably slow for him. He only went out and entry'd one person. That's slow. He didn't push CT spawn.
The DD could not throw a single smoke in the whole Tyloo lineup. He would throw a top mid smoke. Somebody would run out middle. He would die. He would turn right to DD like, where the fuck's your smoke? Then he looks.
This is amazing.
It's incredible. Amazing. Like, I watch behind. It's like, how did these fuckers win? But then
they just headshot everyone.
DD, it's a headshot machine. Like, even in 1-3, like when I play with that guy is just, my god. Like, he can hang with anyone in the world for sure.
Maybe Valorant is DD's game because you don't have to throw smokes. You just have to press on the map where you want them to go. Or Jet. Well, then you kind of do have to throw smokes, but anyways.
Yeah, no, he can't be an Omen, a Jet. What could he be?
He could be a Brimstone.
He could be
a Brimstone main. You got to throw the molly in the right spot, but
you'll be a Sage. A self-healing Sage.
Yeah,
100%.
Battle Sage.
Yeah, so there we go.
Just run in,
Reyna.
Frack someone,
definitely a Reyna. Like,
DD, res me, the fuck you.
No.
He's gonna kill everyone.
I'm gonna res myself, bitch. Anyways, okay.
In my opinion, the Tyloo lineup with DD and Mo was the best.
I agree.
To see with Xccurate. Xccurate without Xccurate, both were really good. Then after that, they went down a little bit, but they were still really good. And then after that, this new lineup, I think the coach has done something amazing with these guys. They're actually really good. Like, they have resilience and they play proper CS now. They're not just full Chinese run out and headshot people anymore. Like, you see proper stuff from them.
You think this is the first thing?
That's the first thing I noticed right out the gate. Is like their first game I watched them play. I think it was their first official match on HLTV with this new lineup in that first RMR tournament where Tiger won.
Road to Rio.
I saw them do a 1-3-1 default map control on Barrage where they actually went for window and connector and like played really slow and played out the mid round and no one did any kind of misc peek. And I was like, what the fuck? Is the nameplates the right way around? Like, it was fucking crazy.
Do you think there'll be a better... this will be the best version of Tyloo, Alex? Or do you think they still have a ways to go?
No, I think this is the best version of Tyloo in a while.
In a while or ever?
They need to try themselves against the Europeans, but I think this is the best version.
Okay, that's interesting. And I wonder if that speaks for the barrier. Does that speak for the rest of the region as well? Like, let's briefly touch on Vici here as well, because I don't know if you've been watching. We've obviously been seeing it because we've been casting most of these games. Every single time there seems to be a tournament in Asia, it's Tyloo and Vici in the grand final. It's like 9 or 10 matches in a row now that Tyloo have beaten Vici. Some of them have been really one-sided. Some have been really, really close. So have you got any insight onto Vici here at all?
So if I'm not wrong, Kaze's out of a contract, but he's a rolling contract now.
Okay.
So if I'm not wrong, so he's just sitting there. I'm not sure why, but I think a big problem is because he can't actually go to China
Right.
to boot camp with them. So they're quite on the fence about this. I do think they still want to keep him. Then aside from that, I don't know, man. This Vici has a mental block, 100%.
How's Kaze's Mandarin?
It should be okay. He's Chinese Malaysian. I'm very sure. I'm very sure his Mandarin's but I'm very sure they communicate Mandarin.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
I could ask him actually. I just never got around asking him.
All right. I was always confused about it because I knew he's like half Chinese Malaysian, but growing up in Malaysia, you can't just assume that he knows it very well. So I always wondered if that was a block, maybe. Anyway, that's done.
Well, the weird thing about Malaysia is it's, I think, kind of similar in Singapore. Alex, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people do speak Chinese. And in Malaysia, they speak English as well. And then there's like Malay, which is a language as well. And then there's a lot of Indian people in Malaysia as well. So there's like 4 sort of languages that go on in Malaysia. And if he is from a Chinese descent or background, then there's probably a good chance he speaks.
Yeah, you're probably right. Most Chinese in Malaysia actually speak Chinese and Malay. They speak really bad English. Then of course the Malays don't speak Chinese.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. You're definitely right. In Singapore, everyone speaks English. Like if you don't speak English, it's a shock to me. Like especially my generation, at least.
So for Vici, you think it's maybe more of a mental block than a skill
Oh,
thing?
definitely mental block. Like, do you see the last one where they played Mirage and they lost like 3 go rounds?
I probably casted it, to be honest.
I mean, they ran into like A stack every time. No, for some reason, right? If you play against a Chinese team, you just stack A, you 100% win the round.
Okay.
Like every team comes A in Mirage on China. I don't know why, but Tyloo just sat on A side. Vici comes out, bam, 2v5. Same thing 3 times. I don't know, man. Like for me, it's a mental block. They should have had that series, in my opinion. At least.
Well, all right.
I think multiple series. Like even if I remember that first RMR tournament where like they won first map and then went into Vertigo and just like that was a fucking they shit the bed and like there's been so many like even just there's some that are blatant like when it's like a 14-14 or and they like choke the game or something like that. But there's some that are really subtle where it's like you'll see some of their play like Zoking like will play bad or someone that should be playing well on a certain map, certain position doesn't play well, or Kaze instead of being like Pogger's Kaze just running around the map fucking owning everyone is just kind of like, I'm going 10 for 10 this game. Like whatever, like not really having any impact, kind of saving every round kind of thing. So it's like some are subtle sort of blocks, some are like big chokes in clutch moments, which, makes you want to cry.
What's the fix then for Vici, Alex? We've talked about this a lot on our sort of 3-man podcast. But if you're the coach of Vici, what are you doing?
They need a roster change, in my opinion. I just don't know who though. But like they probably need the easiest person to prove is probably Zoking.
Okay, I'd say Almond.
If you have played with Almond before, you know that he's actually an incredible nuisance. Like. He's everywhere, and he's literally everywhere. He's like a one-man map control freak. He goes around, throws a lunch of shit. He feels like the whole team is there, but it's just him. And in my opinion, like he does a lot of important things for the playstyle. So he can't go. So he's probably gonna have to be Zoking, because I think Zoking is like he's not playing his best right now.
But do you think like I mean he does play that hard entry role for that lineup, right?
Yeah, it is true. Which is
why. I know, I understand, but who would you replace? Because if you're going to add in someone, let's say you get...
It has to be Bottle, man.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, imagine if they got Bottle. But even then, Alex, don't you think that... Because the way I see Vici, a lot of the time Advent's like on that entry role, but he's obviously like a weaker sort of fragger. Like he puts himself as first going in to be traded, like on a lot of these like T-side strats and things like that. He's always playing off like another person in the large side, like on nuke or whatnot. Do you feel like that is a good way to approach it? Because whenever I think about Vici, I'm almost like, I kind of wish they had 2 aggressive riflers who could have some more impact rather than like, it's like Zoking who's inconsistent as fuck. But say you even replace him with Bottle and then you have Advent who's more aggressive. Like they still have a lot of like sort of passive players. Like Kaze is quite a passive player when he's not feeling it. Jam Young and Orman, I feel like, do a lot of the same things a lot of the time, like map control, so like anchor style or whatever. And whenever I see Vici play really well, it's when Kaze goes fuck you and he picks up an AK and goes in with the like main pack of players. That's when I see Vici like looking really scary. So, You think that that's not? Do you think that it's a problem that they have a lot of sort of more passive players, and that Advent as an IGL is forced to be that like sort of entry player?
Well, for me, I think it's a bigger problem that Evan is a bit more inconsistent with his fragging. I've seen him play very well, especially in the major. The one I feel like okay. So basically, just to take from my own perspective, like I used to call exactly like Evan, right? I'll just put myself in, go in first and just jump and die, which makes sense to me because I set everyone up, I run in, and I'm already not as focused as I am in the game, and I just jump and I tell like Nevin where he is, like Splashske, high chance he's gonna kill the guy and we're gonna win the round anyway. So that was my general playstyle on T. But after, I mean, this year, for example, I worked on my aim a lot, and like I can safely tell you that I'm not the same player as I was in Boot 2019. I just haven't had a chance to fucking show it because there's no matches, no tournaments. But like I'm a lot better now. Even just before I got kicked. I'm not better than f0rsakeN. I can tell you I'm a lot better than 2019 Alex, who was totally balls and totally deserved to like get my ass kicked by all these teams. I think Evan needs to work on his game, like his own game, before anything, before even kicking Toking anything. But I mean, let's be frank, Toking has been in the lineup for a very long time, and he's probably bought into whatever Evan's calling style is. There's probably something there that he does in the team that I don't see.
Yeah.
That's probably very effective. TCT, the information he gives, guarantee you that he's very valuable in his own way. So maybe it's not a roster change, but I think Evan can be a lot better player than he is right now if he works on himself. Like for sure. I feel like I'm living proof that I'm 31 years old. I still can improve. He can definitely improve. He's got no excuse. So for me, he needs to step back and take a look at the playing side of things and say, okay, I need to frag 5 more kills in the match. And it's going to turn the round. It's going to turn everything around.
Which is so interesting because if you because I mentioned this earlier as well on this podcast where I have Advent on my Steam's friends list. And he's got more hours than anyone else I have on this Steam's friends, like 20,000, I think, coming up on. Yeah, and every time I see him online, sorry?
I always thought I had the most until I met him. I have 12K now.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. You probably be playing something. Advent's always watching a game. Always. I've never seen him actually play a game. It's always watching something. So yeah, maybe a few deathmatch hours. It's not that hard, man. I'm 33. I'm still hitting some shots here and there.
Sure, right. Sure.
It's a
Fuck you, Elfish.
That's just like when Pili says he's got 100% win rate in Asia. It's like, yeah, that may be
true.
Bro.
One pug.
I should be on Paper X right now. I fucking carried you in that pug, Bleh. I put 4 fucking mouse pads together and I scrounged from the fucking
mouse pad.
Yeah, I had 4, bro, and I fucking scrounged them from around the random office of ESL Malaysia using a mouse I never used. Still beat QQ in a face-it pug and carried your fucking ass, so it must not be too bad.
Oh, there we go. All right. Well, okay. That's a pretty good, just general Asia CS discussion. Is there any other teams that you want to get Alex's opinion on, guys? Because I'm obviously pretty interested in that Tyloo Vici rivalry. I don't think there's anything else that interesting in Asia at the moment.
I actually want to ask this one to you, Alex. Like, do you feel like, I mean, you've been playing for a while. I've been casting you for a long time as well. I remember, I think we were in Bovine's lineup. Like,
I was in the Bovine's lineup.
Yeah, right. Do you feel, considering at that point in time you were a veteran and, like late 2015, 16, 17, and many people would kind of look up to you to kind of be the in-game leader and to take up the leading responsibility. Do you think that personally affected your individual skill set, like a few years back? Did that lead to kind of like a decline in your personal impact in the game?
I mean, for sure. Like, I think if you're a star player in any region, right? If the day you tell yourself that you become an in-game leader or you take over the mantle of in-game leading, your skill is gonna just plummet. Like, I mean, it's something that I would never recommend a star player do, simply because there's so much responsibility when you in-game lead. You suddenly are the leader of the team. You run training and everything. It's not just that, because like everything has to go according to the way you think and stuff. So if you suddenly become an in-game leader, you focus so much more time on in-game leading. You start to understand fear. You start to realize, okay, if I miss, we're going to lose the round. But when you're a young 16-year-old like f0rsakeN, for example, he just runs out and shoots the guy. He's not going to be thinking, oh, if I die, it matters and kind of shit. No, but if you're an in-game leader, suddenly you can't make a play, because if you make this risky 20% chance of happening play and you screw up, your team loses the round, loses the match, you eco next round. You have to think of the eco plan. You're never fully focused. Like, yeah, definitely did. I mean, I would say that I wasn't that amazing anyway. I was not bad for my skill level, but I definitely got a lot worse. And I've learned a lot in the sense that I made a lot of mistakes as I became in-game leader and grew up and stuff that I would change if I were like 25 again. So I guess I would be a great mentor to the next in-game leader. you know, like to make sure that he doesn't fall down the same directions I did. I really fucked up some shit. Like I should have been focusing on my game even more than in game leading. I should have led by example in the sense that like I don't know. I don't know. I would have made sure that I can always put out numbers. You know, I would like in the to if I could revisit it, I would like to play like Nexa, in the sense that I'm still in game leader, but incredibly solid. You know, like I don't have to push or anything.
I just want to add a follow up to that. Is that also like why there's a lack, like a complete lack of in-game leaders in Asia? Because most of these young players, the first thing to look at someone's, you know, if someone's an in-game leader, he's gonna be like, oh yeah, okay, but can you frag? Can you drop like a 30 bomb?
Yeah,
is that sure. Like kind of like the requirement before they can start respecting an in-game leader? I feel that's the thing.
I think it's because it's just not a very glorious role, you know. Okay, the Asian thing is okay. I feel like okay, this is down to culture, but we seem to have a huge ass ego in Asia, where we always want to be a top fragger. You don't want to be role player. You always want someone else to do this shit, run in front of you, bait, that kind of thing. Like it's everywhere. So the people that want to become in-game leaders are usually people that cannot. I mean, they cannot play from the start. You know what I mean? There in Asia, it happens to be like this guy that just kind of sucks. Then he's like, okay, I still want to be involved in the team. I'm gonna be an in-game leader. Then from then on, they study the game and stuff, but nobody respects them. So then they don't ever get picked up. Then they just leave.
Gotcha.
So like, yeah. So actually, I think those people exist. They're just not picked up, and then they fell through the cracks, you know. And then everybody else is just a makeshift one where they're like, I'm a fragger. I have no choice. I'm the oldest player in the team. I have the most experience. I will do it. You know what I mean? And then after that, you get like a half-ass in-game leader.
Yeah, I think like to be honest, like. We're kind of blessed in Oz because just to touch on like 3 or 4 of those points is because we have a lot of people that have like diffused experience and like being able to like lend a lot of advice to like younger players and stuff, which is what Alex can do on Paper X, but that's sort of missing in Asia a little bit. But also just on the in-game leading fragging discussion, I mean, yeah, even me, like I didn't start out as an in-game leader, even though I was kind of like a shit fucking tier Australian player, but I became an in-game leader after playing for like 2 years or something like that. And you just naturally start to become like a facilitator, basically. You know, you're the one who has to implement the game plan. So every time that someone, particularly when you're like coming up in the ranks or when you're playing with people, so every time someone can't do something, you instantly start to do that stuff, or you start to facilitate things that are happening, whether you're going to be supportive or when you're going to be like an entry player or something like that. You start trying to make the game plan work, which means you're always taking away from your own individual game, and you just end up getting shitter in terms of just playing for the team, because you want to be like facilitating the calls. You know, no one's that in-game. I feel like you'd have to be fucked in the head to be like the kind of in-game leader that was like, oh, here's the plan, guys. But if it doesn't work because you guys fucked it up, then that's fine, and we'll try and pull the round back. No, you get invested in the fucking calling that you do, and you do anything you can to facilitate that, and that usually takes away from your individual game.
Am I correct in saying that, like, if you're the in-game leader, right, you're the guy that's wanting to set up all this util, and you know you're the guy that's wanting to make that strategy a thing. Sometimes it's easier for you to just be like, all right, well, I'll just fucking throw this piece of util instead of sending someone else in to do it for me.
That's what I used to do, which is like I don't get the mentality of like running in first, because I would always bait my fucking teammates when I was playing, but I was shit, so it's pretty irrelevant. But I definitely was like, oh, like I would have a lot of bricks for teammates who I would try to get them to throw utility and they wouldn't do it correctly, and then I would just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna play that fucking supportive role and try to facilitate things happening. But at the end of the day, you take on that much kind of responsibility, it's not really going to get you anywhere. You need to like build other people to be more well-rounded, because otherwise you're just going to have massive gaps in your team.
Very interesting. Okay, well,
I think, well, just to add on to that, I think I was really blessed in like 2019 boot. It's probably the best lineup I've played in, and for me, like I'm definitely the worst player in that lineup. So when I look at that lineup, I'm like, okay, there's going to be an up around the corner.
Who was on that roster at that time? Just because I remember, again, this was like a fucking 10-man roster at that point, so...
No, I wasn't.
It was, bro.
2019. That was like the lucid dream era where there was Pro League and shit, Jordan.
Yeah,
that was a 10-man roster. That was a 10-man roster.
Splashske, Alecks,
Benkai,
and Bobo?
Bobo,
yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember.
If all these players had 2020 experience then, we would be champions in Asia, 100%. Like everybody has changed. Like
Okay.
Benkai used to be a huge rager when we lose. Like he's very, very difficult to play with last time. But like he's totally mellowed out for some reason.
Army
I've
service.
improved as a player. No, but he was in army during that time. In 2019. So 2019 we were playing with Ben in army. Splashske in school. So that means part-time lineup. Bulbasaur has improved a lot. Like he was very difficult to work with.
Bulbasaur
Like,
for me is an enigma. Like, can I just give you my opinion on Bulbasaur? Sometimes this is the guy that's going to drop 35 frags and run
against Tyloo.
Against Tyloo. And then sometimes he's the guy that's going to wide swing on nuke on outer. And there's a guy in heaven, there's a guy in control room or in hell. And there's no flashes. He's just going to wide swing outer. No smokes. Just tries to get across secret. And you're just like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, I can explain his playstyle. Like basically, he would look at something, he would see the situation, he would make a snap judgment as to I let him do it in Paper X because it seemed to work well. Like he was very good at making a snap judgment as to where everyone was at one point in time and what he could do. So if he got it wrong, it looked amazing.
It looked horrible.
It looked like he was just the dumbest player on earth. But when he gets it right, he's behind him.
Yeah.
So he does the same thing for Hot Side now because he's the caller in Hot Side now. So you would think that's crazy.
Wasn't he calling very early when he joined BOOT as well? Because I remember when he joined and played for you guys at the Asian Minor in 1 week. Okay, he was calling for 1 week.
He decided he was insane.
I remember when he came to the face in Minor, I'm like, who's this guy, Bulbasaur, right? And this is on land, mind you. And motherfuckers 1D-ing fooled. I'm like, what the fuck? Who is this guy, Alex?
Is his sensitivity as high as I remember?
It's high.
It's like 10 or something like that?
It was 10. We made him move it to 6. Then I realized that he was very upset with it, so we let him go back up to 8
Jesus
or something.
Christ.
On what DPI?
I mean, I normalized it to 400, but it's like 1.6k times 3 or something like that. Something weird.
Jesus Christ.
So like, what bones in his wrist does this cunt have that I don't have? That lets him do like millimeter micro adjustment. Oh fuck! It's one of those, is it?
He sits like this, and then he moves.
Like a real, just really high.
Can you just link him a fucking Rambo video where he explains some posture and like different, arm movements and things like that? I think it would really.
Do you think someone like Bulbasaur gives a fuck, Pilsky? He's just gonna look at Rambo. It's like, I don't care. He's an old guy boomer. I'm not gonna watch his videos.
Potentially so. But
guaranteed.
I mean, just to touch on what Alex said, it's even just down to like what he was saying earlier, where he's like, oh, he's made a bunch of mistakes and he's like, learned a lot from shit like that. And seeing someone like Benkai like it grow and improve, it's just normal, man. Like you play on rosters that underperform or don't play well or things like that, or even just in life, even with my fucking shit tier teams when I like attended one nationals, I just think about like, oh fuck, imagine if I hadn't like practiced like this before that tournament, or imagine if I hadn't like raged at this cunt and kicked him before a tournament happened or some shit. Like we would have done better. You reflect on things that went wrong and you're better next time.
You were on a team with like, what was it, Urkas and Alistair or something?
No, Alistair. That wasn't a relevant team. That was a shit team.
Okay. Anyway, look.
In fact, none of the teams are relevant.
On the topic of old boots. Oh no, you were on some okay teams. Anyway, but on the topic of boot, did you have a couple more questions that you wanted to throw in about that old boot roster, Pilsky, that we didn't get to in the earlier segment?
I wanted to ask you guys, what it was like to play at IEM Sydney against some of the better teams and like to prepare for a tournament, because I always wonder like what it's like to sort of prepare for a tournament and fucking go hard and you're like, finally it's our chance to go to international, but you're the Asian team that's fucking seeded last in the tournament, which means that you literally play like the best team in the world or some shit in the first fucking game. And then the question after that is, I just wanted to ask you about playing in SEA 2018, 2019. You're fucking playing Thai teams every fucking day of the week in every grand final of qualifiers. Yeah, and once you fucking beat Signature or Beyond or whoever's playing on that Thai team that week, you have to play the other fucking Thai team in the grand final after the semi, which is like Lucid Dream, and what that was like. So Sydney and then just SEA in general and playing Thai teams all the fucking time every other week to try and qualify for things.
Thai fetish.
I played one. I played one Sydney tournament. I also coached the Cologne one and the one in Dubai and stuff. So With regard to preparation, I guess when I was a coach, I did a lot of that. Like I watch demos, I'll see like what we could do, and like I'll compare. Like can we use what we have against them? Do we have anything new that we can bring to the table? Which is usually no. But but yeah, I mean preparation wise, I guess for the boys it was more like okay, it's our first. Well, it's particularly I think the first tournament we went to was Cologne. No, it was Sydney. So 2018 Sydney, we qualified, and I was coaching that one. So for me, it was more like, okay, we go there, we're gonna try our best to play against the top team. It's the first time we've ever played against the top team, and then we're gonna learn from it, right? But in the end, like I don't think you learn anything by getting smashed. So that's a big problem.
That was the one right after. Was it like Zen League finals or ESL Pro League finals where you played that, then went back home, and then came back to Sydney? I remember meeting you there, and I remember saying like, "Why are you guys not just staying in Sydney?" But everyone had to go back and do like military service or school or whatever it was, I think at the time.
So it's simply because we were a part-time team. So like the big problem was like I would have loved to just stay there and play the Aussie teams and whoever was staying there as well. So I remember that tournament. Yeah, that's when I first met you, Jordan.
We did an interview there that never got released. I don't know if you remember that.
I totally don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember doing it because I wanted to interview Impression, I think, at the time, and then he was like, "No, I'm getting ready. Go and talk to our coach." I was like, "Who's the fuck's this guy?" And then we got you to come into the studio and do an interview, but none of those ever got released. Yeah, it was probably shit anyway, so whatever. Okay, well, what about the 2018, 2019 thing then, with playing against all those teams in the qualifiers? Because I remember that time as well, and that was when we weren't really that excited about TyCS, but as that year sort of went on, particularly into 2019, we were starting to go, oh, you know what? These Thai teams are actually getting pretty good.
I mean, okay, the funny thing about Thailand is like every 3 months there's a Thai shuffle, right? So like,
yep.
Like it became an inside joke that they would just shuffle the moment they lose.
And they always did. Every tournament we would cast, we'd be like, okay, which team is Maple this time? Which team is Lucid Dream this time? And it would be like Lucid Dream would be a team,
Maple.
And then they would become Beyond for the next tournament, and then they would be Maple, and then they would be Signature, and then they'd be back to Lucid Dream.
Orgs as well, like even almost a completely similar lineup, and just in a different org.
It's like the European royalty back in like 1400s where everyone's fucking everyone and everyone's related.
Incestuous.
So weird.
Did you ever have like a tournament, Alex, where you like prepared for like Beyond and you're watching Beyond demos or some shit, and then a fucking whole different team loads into the fucking server?
It's happened before. I can't remember what it was, but like suddenly Lucid Dream is like 2 new players. I'm like,
oh,
what? You know what I mean?
Oh, fuck's sake, my fucking demo watching session was fucking pointless then.
It was 2017. Like every like practice you play, right, you're not sure you get the same team, you know?
All right.
They really stopped non-stop.
Good times. Okay, well, all right, let's go on a bit more of a different tangent then. And this is obviously big news in Counter-Strike of late. The whole coaching thing, so the coaching bug, I'm sure everyone who's watching this has heard about it. If not, just look it up on Google and you'll find some info. But I want to talk about the Asian region because there hasn't actually been any news regarding this within the Asia region. And I actually find it unbelievable that in the Asia region, no one has done this. So
yes, I totally agree with Blair. Like if one of the Asians knew about this bug, like we're so shit that, I mean, it just goes to show how shit we are. Right? It's just like we don't know. I don't think the coaches know. Okay, so like I heard that I'm not sure how to actually do the bug, but I have encountered it before, like just last week. So apparently you have to alt tab at a certain time or something like that. So it happened to me because I was sad that I'm not a player, right? So I put the CS in window mode and I just went through the motions of watching my team. I just kept alt tabbing and then suddenly I was a camera. I was like, oh, so this is how it works.
Yep.
So I'm quite sure the Asians, because most of us play in boot camps and stuff, the coach is not actually not on the server.
Right.
They don't actually know about the bug. And if you're playing a match and you don't know the bug, you're never going to alt tab, right? You're just going to stare at your team and watch him play. There's a very high possibility that none of the players actually know about the bug. But if they do know about the bug, it's not like ESL is going to check because all the demos are on 5e anyway. Like we only play 5e tournaments, right? So
yeah. So your opinion obviously is that no one in Asia has been using that bug, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think so.
Okay. What you, Blair, obviously seem to agree, or was that tweet just for the impressions? Come on.
Maybe both. Okay, here's the thing. No, I'm gonna disagree with Alex here.
I know how your mind works.
You think someone is
I think
Don't say
they're
like
cheating.
who you think or anything like that, but
I'm not going to bring up any names or any teams in particular, and I don't really, actually, honestly, I don't really have any particular team in mind. But let's be fucking real here, okay? Like, I've seen some fucking weird results, I've seen some weird fucking throws, and I've seen some results which make no fucking sense. Where I'm like, how are they beating them? And you know what?
Are you sure it's because of the bug, or it's because they're throwing?
It could be both. Like, imagine this.
They might
can
might
throw
even
harder
have encountered.
because they know where the enemies are.
It could be.
They might have even encountered the bug and just been like, hold on, which way are the odds going? All right, I'm just gonna stare at the wall.
Can we envision this, right? So you have two players in team A, and the two players, they haven't told the teammates this, they haven't told the coach, but they're like, all right, dude, bro. It's like, yo, what's up, man? He's like, we're gonna throw this game, all right? We're like, cool. They're in the game, they're about to throw, and then the coach, he gets the bug. He's like, okay, player 1 and player 2, they're coming B, hold that angle. They're like, fuck, we need to throw. Can you imagine a conflict between a coach cheating, trying to help them win, and they're too busy trying to fucking throw? I kind of wish that happened. I kind of wish that actually was the case. That would be fucking hilarious.
Nah, that would be easy to explain away. All you got to do is, as the player, is what I'm just not feeling it today, man. Like, I didn't sleep very well. I didn't deathmatch enough before this game. I just had an off game.
I mean,
Pilsky sounds suspiciously very ready for that. Sorry, go on, Alex.
No, I was about to say I'm just waiting for the day that like two Chinese teams are both throwing at the same time. You know,
I've seen that. There's a demo. There is a VOD. There is a VOD.
I've probably seen that as well.
There's a clip. There's a Twitch clip. Top mid Mirage. Two teams trying to throw the same round at the same time. It is fucking hilarious. I'll link it to you guys later on.
Okay.
It's amazing.
If Bleh does end up linking this to us, I'll put a link to the clip in the description below, because I'm sure everyone's quite interested to see it. I actually am quite interested to see it. Maybe I'll even put it in the VOD. For those of you that are watching the episode, if I've cut this in, we're going to watch the clip now. Yeah. And this is our live reaction. I don't know how I'll do this. I'll probably put a pip in or something with the video. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. I have no audio.
Fine. 25 seconds remaining, and he's still looking for the fight with the bomb at his feet, and the T's aren't pushing because they want him to win the round. And he's doing everything to face them, and they're not facing him.
I literally don't even recognize any of these players, which is probably a good thing.
He really does run back to them.
Yeah, look at that. 7 seconds. 7 seconds. The bomb's down, and he's pushing. And they see him, and he doesn't shoot. He doesn't shoot.
None of them have shot. Oh my god. So
they just delete him as soon as it's over.
Yeah.
And the T's threw harder than the C. Oh my god. This is...
Oh my god.
That is actually the most blatant I've ever seen, to be honest. I've not seen that clip before, which surprises me.
I'm shocked.
Owners straight away call each other and like, okay, what's up?
Okay, so general consensus seems to be that maybe it happened. Like, the reason that I kind of think that it's unreasonable to say that it didn't is just that, like, we know the bullshit that goes on within the region, and I find it hard to believe that someone hasn't at some point in their career had the opportunity to take advantage of that. And I know that there are people that would take advantage of it. So
for me, I feel like if it really was the case and one of the Southeast Asian teams knew about the bug, then they would definitely beat Tyloo or Vici. Because that bug is so powerful. Like, if everybody was in on it, like literally, coach, there's a camera on the A side. You can literally say there's a guy on, let's take Mirage for example. There's a guy on top of Shelter, on top of the above Palace. There's a guy, and you can literally see where they all are. It's impossible to lose the round, in my opinion. Like, you can throw the perfect strat, throw the mollies in the right places, just run out and shoot the people, like pre-fire him. It's impossible to lose. Like, Tyloo would have lost. Like, I would go to the same side every fucking round if I knew about that bug, you know what I mean?
right.
Like, there's no way, there's no hiding. If I knew about that bug, I was on my camera's on the A side, or mid, or B, whatever. I know where they are. I'll never go the other bomb side. And I'll only go the other bomb side if they're stacking A. I'm like, okay.
I mean, that's convincing.
There's no way you lose.
That's a convincing case as well. Anyways, I mean, obviously we don't know. Look, there's been no official word or anything like that of any of the Asian coaches doing this. So, look, that's fine as far as I'm concerned. That's the judge. We're not here to be the judge or anything like that. So I'm happy to just say they're all innocent until proven guilty. Obviously, if there is anyone that's proven guilty, then we'll definitely talk about it. But I've said that a few times, and we've never really ended up talking about any of the stuff that we thought we might. So maybe we're just drama queens. Either way, okay, then we're kind of getting towards the end of this questioning sort of segment, but I do have one that's in relation to the old BOOT roster as well. I sort of meant to do that a little bit earlier, but I want to know if there's any possible world where we would ever see a reunion with your former BOOT roster, the likes of Impression, maybe Splashske, Moxie, like all these kind of OG Singaporean players, or is there like some sort of bad blood between the guys?
No, not really. Everybody likes each other. Like every night, I would see like Splashske and Moxie. So they're all different teams, right? Playing World of Warcraft with Tommy. You know, in the Discord channel, they're just playing World of Warcraft and stuff. But for me, I think Impression's never gonna come back to the Singapore lineup because he's earning way too much in BTRG, if I'm not wrong. This is my conjecture, of course. Like I'm not actually sure how much he earns. Splashske is going to the army, so that's out of the question. And Moxie has bought into the AQ project, the Asking Questions project.
Right.
So he's not gonna leave because if I'm not wrong, like Asking Questions, like they're another victim of like COVID because they should be in Poland by now. Like their plans were April this year, boot camp in Poland for a year. So we would have seen like an Asian team go to Europe and try their best to see whether they can learn anything from there and come back to Asia and dominate. That was the plan.
How are they going to get the money for that?
But I mean that was the plan. They already have the funding. I mean, the owner is Striker X, so he's close to Neo. You know, he knows all the old players. Neo, the plan was to be in. I heard the plan was to be in Neo's hometown or something like that. So like they were trying to set up everything. It was going to be all good, and they were going to go there, live there for as long as they could on their visas, come back every now and then to play tournaments. But I guess COVID derailed everything for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
true.
So he's staying and waiting for it to open up again.
So we basically have to have our faith in Paper Rex as Boot 2.0. There's never going to be Boot 1.0, 2.0. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, pretty much we have like Benkai and Davai, I guess.
Yeah,
so
Benkai, Davai, Alex is like the core there.
Yeah, Tommy's from Boot like 0.5.
Yep.
So pretty much you have a core there.
I do miss seeing Splashske and Moxie play a little bit more. I mean, obviously Splashke's still in, they're in teams, but like it's not really the same, in my opinion, for Huatsai and Asking Questions as it is for Paper Rex, which seems to be a little bit more legit in my mind.
I mean, I do miss the old Boot lineups a lot because I think that we really had potential and we just really screwed it up with like being too childish, being way too what do you say, like unprofessional, and also like I guess just a growing up phase. That I mean, like Nevin was 19. The rest of the guys were like 22, 23, 24. They're really young when we actually came together. And like if we could meet up now and try again, I think it's slightly different. Like even Anthony, like Impression, he was so young when I first met. I mean, I was older by 6 years with everyone, so I was a little bit more. I wouldn't even say I was more mature. Like I was slightly more mature. I was a bit of a man child.
You had life experience at least though, like
a little bit more life experience. Yes,
it's different.
So like, I didn't have the heart to like yell at them or anything and tell them that they're being dumb and they're wasting their opportunities and stuff. Which in hindsight, like I should have just fucking slapped them.
Oh well, live and learn, I suppose. All right, last question before we do the viewer question and then we're done. Would you ever move to Valorant if CS didn't work out? I feel like you've already kind of answered this, but it's part of the broader question, which is how many chances are there left for Southeast Asia before Valorant just fully takes over?
No, actually, I mean, for me, like, I would compete in Valorant, but I don't think I want to go like professional in it. I for me personally, I'm at the age where like it's done. I'm gonna try and move into like a management role or something else altogether. Like definitely not as a coach still maybe, like a coach / manager, like what I'm doing now. But as a player, nah. But for Southeast Asian players, I don't think they should come to CS though. There's a Valorant tournament in Singapore every week. I've never seen that in CS:GO. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a $15,000 prize pool tournament in Singapore for invited teams. In Singapore alone. You know what I mean? So only Singaporean teams.
It's crazy.
It's like, yeah, so like this is all over the world right now. And like I do think that Vision Strikers is gonna be very good in Valorant simply because they have the right approach to practice and stuff. And they would have been good in CS:GO too as well. Like if they actually stuck to it, in my opinion. But I don't know about the rest of the Asia. I think the problem is the culture. They brought the same culture from CS:GO to to Valorant, and I mean, we don't have the best culture in Asia for sure. Like, we obviously never learned anything from anywhere, and anyone that seems to have an idea of what to do this is not involved in CS or not involved in Valorant, so they don't teach the new guys what to do. So new guys learn from people that are like idiots as well. So like it just is one big circle, and we're never gonna end.
Okay.
We're just gonna suck at Valorant.
Well, we'll see, I guess, how things go. Maybe we'll all end up doing a podcast about Valorant in a year or two, which is called Geographically Unchallenged, because Asia is the best region. Who knows?
Hopefully.
Anyway, let's move on to the viewer question for this week. There was only one for us, I think. Unless I missed one. I'm sorry if I missed one. Feel free to drop it again. I'll get it next episode. And of course, you can send us a question about anything you want. It doesn't even have to be about Asian Counter-Strike, although they do always seem to be. But if you want to know Bleh's hair care routine, feel free to ask that. YouTube comments below, or Twitter. Either way, the question for this week is from John Hopwood, who is a regular of our podcast and also a viewer on my stream, so appreciate that. The question is, do you think that Renegades could go international like 100 Thieves did? And do you think an Asian super team could ever do the same, and why? So I guess it's two different questions. We'll start off with the Renegades one, and I'll give you my very quick 2 cents here, in that I think they were actually going to do that this year. I have an understanding, at least I think from one of the interviews that I did, one with Malta. I'm pretty sure it was Malta. Would have to go back and look at the VOD. But if you're interested, you can do that. I think he said that they were in discussions with Flashpoint to potentially have a spot in Flashpoint. So I think the intention was, whether it was Flashpoint, obviously they had the Pro League slot as well, and then there was the Major, etc., etc. I think they were going to go overseas and pretty much just be an international team. So yes, I think they could have. And Bleh has already said he thinks that they probably were a top 20, 25 team based on what he saw. So I guess that's his answer. Do you want to give us your 2 cents here, Pilski?
They already had, to be honest, like with the results that they were having, even before they started to go overseas a little bit more. The way I look at Renegades, look, they're not a playoffs team. Like, they weren't up to that level of a consistent playoffs team. But you look at some of their results, like IEM Sydney upsetting some pretty decent teams and pushing some teams like FaZe and SK. Then you look at like upsetting a Liquid or something like that, making grand final of a DreamHack event up against Big. Like, they're already punching pretty hard, like overseas, with some of the results that they had. And I think this year would have been their year to actually go overseas and have some consistent results. Hell, like with the way 100 Thieves is looking, they might have even been better than 100 Thieves if they'd continued on the trajectory that they were on. I could have honestly seen that happening.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good at the moment. Anyways, I don't know if Bleh or Alex, you want to throw your 2 cents in on that one? Or we can move on to the Asia discussion.
I mean, I've never got the chance to practice against Renegades, but I actually practiced against Order and some other Australian team. No. They actually reached out to us.
Oh, so wait, from ANZ or?
Yeah, so we play on Perth servers.
Ah. How did that go, actually, just out of interest?
Ping-wise. Well, the Order games were weird. Like, there'll be one time that we would smash them, then they would smash us, and then like for practice, I guess people just
so how they play normally?
Yeah,
they just smash a team or they just choke.
Yeah, so it's exactly that, and it was just practice, right? So it's a bit odd, but I enjoyed playing them a lot because different play style and stuff, and I'm sure it was the same for them. But I only remember practicing Order. Everyone else that I asked to play with, like, didn't want to play, or if they did play, they were not very good at that time. I never got to play Renegades. I never got to play Chiefs. I played Chiefs on LAN before.
Would have been a different Chiefs though than the current one.
Yeah, I play against Tux and Texter.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, maybe a thing to sort of explore again. Maybe, I don't know. Don't want to tell you how to run your team, but I'd be really, really interested to see how Paper Rex would go against some of the Aussie teams. Even if it is just scrim results. But
I mean, it's probably going to be up to them because like I have to play on Perth servers. I have no idea how to set that up, and they're going to have to do it and reach out themselves.
I mean, it shouldn't be that hard, honestly.
If they want to, and they watch this podcast, they can just reach out to me, and I'll try my best to arrange something.
Right, how bad are those Perth servers compared to like some of those the scuffed like pings that you guys get in Asia from some of the? Is it playable?
Yeah, yes, it is. But we have to experiment with VPN a lot. Like I remember, like a couple of scrims I played with them, I had 200, and I just like forget it. We just play. Because
is it like 50,
I had 200, but the rest are like 70 for both the Aussie players as well.
Dude,
okay. So it's like
right now I would honestly pay good money to like see a show match on a Perth server with some stable ping between an Aussie team. That's about as close as we're going to get to international play at this point, probably.
Yeah, but I think it's specific to Singapore though. I don't think the Australian teams can play against like the Thai teams. They don't ping well to Perth. So it's only
it's
like
only
if they want to
Singapore.
play.
Yeah, Singapore has. I think there's that direct line actually from Perth to Singapore. That's why.
So that's why we could get it. Yep.
All right, interesting. All right, well that's a bit of a tangent. Hopefully you enjoyed that one, John. Now onto the Asia Super Team, and could they ever do the same and why? Now I guess the first thing you have to clarify there is what is the Asia Super Team, because that really changes quite a lot. But we're not going to get into that whole discussion because we've done a whole episode on that. I don't even know how to kind of quantify this. Like maybe what if let's say Tyloo, for example, could go overseas and they could live overseas. Is that maybe a fair thing, or does it have to be an English speaking team?
Tyloo was in Ukraine for the first 3 months of this year.
That's a problem. And that's what I'm going to come to, right? Like when you look at the Aussie guys like 100 Thieves with Sponge and Chad and everyone, when they moved over, if you're an Australian team or Australian person in general, moving to the West, to EU, NA, we've spoken about this earlier, but it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. You know, you can adapt to the culture and everything. But if you're talking about, let's say, forget the Chinese teams, which it would be very hard for them to adapt permanently, right? Where they're like, oh, when do we go back home? We don't know. They're going to be like, oh, fuck that. You know, I don't want to do this. They're going to have that mentality. And even, Alex, I'm going to throw this your way. I feel like even for a Singaporean team, even you guys are going to feel very homesick very quickly. It's going to be hard to adapt. We're going to hate it. Exactly, right? And and you guys in Singapore, Singapore's probably the most multicultural country / city state in the entirety of Asia. You know, it's a way more international place. But even you guys would be like, after 3-4 months, you guys are gonna be like, fuck this shit. Your performance is gonna start dropping off, and it's just not gonna work. And it's not about the level of Counter-Strike, it's just a culture, I feel like. So yeah, short answer from my side, no. Asian Super Team living in the West, not gonna work.
Spicy food, missing out on that stuff, the creature comforts. Yeah. What's your take, Alex? Obviously you're a little bit more on the pulse with this, I guess.
No, like even just moving Davai and Mindfreak to Singapore, they really and that time Sube, they were like, we gotta live in Singapore. It's expensive, right? Like I think it was a bit difficult, let alone like Europe and stuff where the culture is different, the food is different, people speak different languages from us, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't know whether we have to deal with racism or not, but like
depends where you go, I think, but yeah, probably. Everywhere, really.
Yeah, Asian, right? Like definitely gonna get some kind of form of racism. It's gonna make them all super depressed.
Yeah.
Like so, I don't think it'd be possible. Let alone, I mean, if it was an Asian super team, the first problem would be language. Like, it's not even a question. Like you gotta get the language. I don't know. It'd be impossible in my opinion.
So okay, even then with that asking questions discussion, then that kind of is also sort of in line. Obviously, that's not a super team by any stretch of the imagination, but how would you have seen that going?
I think the difference is like asking questions. Like they talked about it from the day they created the tournament, the team. I think.
Right.
And they already like super determined to go. So the players already bought in. They already prepared to uproot their lives and go. So I think that would probably work a lot better. But if you were to take like random people from like, okay, let's take Bentet from here, Kazi from there, Benkai from Singapore and stuff, and put them together. They don't know each other. You know, get a guy from Korea, Zion. You know. And then after that, just send them all to Europe. It's like, it's going to be hell, man. No friends, you know, like just for CS to go, like the moment the results go down, right, they're going to hate each other and they're not going to play anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that more or less wraps the episode up, unless you want to throw anything in there, Pilsky, for that.
I mean, I think even just to add on to that, you're seeing some effects of that on 100 Thieves results right now. Like just with the way that COVID is and everything, they're kind of trapped in. I can't remember. I think it was even just like Dexter on that HLTV podcast was saying, like talking to Greatest Faction or something, that like they're having morale issues, that they haven't been able to like go back home or like move around as much or be able to do some of the things that like offset that feeling of being sort of like confined or cooped up in a place that you're uncomfortable in. So I think you're even seeing some results with that. Well, some signs of that in 100 Thieves, let alone a theoretical team. It's happening literally.
Okay. Very interesting. Well, that is the end of episode 16. It was a long one, about an hour and 50 minutes. So, fellas, I'll congratulate you for that. I think that's the longest episode that we've ever done. might have just beaten out the one with Gomez, which was a very long one as well. So thanks for sticking around, and hopefully for those of you who have been watching this, you've enjoyed it. I personally think it was one of the more interesting episodes, just to get a sort of fresh opinion. So let's go with the shout outs and whatever. We'll start with Pilsky this time. We'll just go across the line. So what do you want to say, Pilsky, as your final thoughts?
Let's see, SEA, like Paper X, just reignite all of the SEA scene. Hopefully Valorant falls flat, and then the Thai teams could be really good again, and I can go back in time to a happier period that I'm never going to get back.
At PilskyCast on Twitter, follow him. All right, Bleh. Tell us how much you enjoyed ANZ Counter-Strike and how much you're glad that you don't have to do it again.
I wouldn't mind doing it again. I really wouldn't mind doing it again. I would love to do more OCE Counter-Strike, although, a little bit too much might break me. So, once in a while, I'd be very happy to jump in. Hire us, hire us, you cunts. It's going to be my usual tagline. And of course, invite these guys, have more open qualifiers, for fuck's sake. Even if you're going to have any event, any qualifier, at least give some pathway for these teams to, at least have a chance. Please, ESL, DreamHack, please do it.
Yep.
That's it.
Agree. I'll agree with that. And that's official Bleh on Twitter. Okay, Alex, you've seen the two pros do it. Now it's your turn. What's your final thoughts? Any shout outs?
I mean, I have nothing to say. I just hope that ESL will consider Asia again and just give us a qualifier every now and then, please. I'm so tired. I mean, like, I spent the last bit of my career training for something that I didn't even get to play, just the PAL qualifier. It's like, come on, man. Crush my dreams.
Yeah.
And for everyone else, please support Paper X.
Support Paper X, which is what, at Paper X on Twitter, I assume. I don't really know.
BTRX team, I think.
That's it. Yeah. You can look them up. I'm sure if you look up Paper X on Twitter, you'll find them. You can follow Alex on Twitter as well. His Twitter is at AlexZon, but AlexZon, I don't even know. But anyway, he doesn't use it, so props not worth.
I don't use it.
I just put it there for the sake of consistency.
I will. Now that I'm a coach and now that I'm not playing anymore, I have a lot more time to like browse my phone when people are playing.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can tweet inspirational coach quotes, collect your paycheck, never really give any constructive feedback, and easy money.
Yep.
And complain when they don't play well.
When you lose your job as a coach, you can hit this guy up for some quality analysis on the analyst desk when the lands come back. So we'd look forward to that. I actually think this would be a banger analyst desk, by the way. Elfishguy can host. We've got the two Asian experts, and then we've got Alex, a former player. I think that works perfectly. And that's a good way to stop the episode. Yeah. So, look, hopefully we'll have a bit of a reunion in person in sometime in the near future, but who knows when that'll be. Either way, you can follow me on Twitter at Elfishguy as well. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you do a comment. Tell us how sexy we all are. Rate us 1 to 4. Obviously, I'm at the top. And you can also support me on Patreon if you like this content, patreon.com/Elfishguy. So that's all the tweets and all the plugs out of the way. But thank you so much for watching and hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time.
Wasting time.